Chapter 27:30. Since you had a backup plan in the fallen god abyss, why didn't you arrange for someone you trust to help you extract the soul blood after you died? Tang Ao didn't really want to know the answer to this question. Tang Ao just wanted to buy time. He felt that Cloud Emperor definitely had a weakness. There was something he couldn't figure out. Although Cloud Emperor hid it well, Tang Ao could still feel that Cloud Emperor wouldn't kill him unless he had no other choice. Moreover, Tang Ao could also feel that Cloud Emperor was very anxious for Tang Ao to agree to his conditions. Tang Ao didn't doubt that if he continued to be stubborn, Cloud Emperor might even give in. Thinking of this, Tang Ao was even more certain that Cloud Emperor definitely had a weakness. However, Tang Ao realized that he didn't know much about Godly King Expert. "Do I need you to teach me?" Hearing Tang Ao's words, Cloud Emperor's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. If he hadn't trusted someone before, he wouldn't have acted like this. After leaving a backup plan in the fallen god abyss, he naturally arranged for someone he trusted to help him extract the soul blood. However, the Cloud Emperor could never have imagined that it was this trustworthy person who had almost destroyed his last hope. Suddenly, Tang Ao's heart jumped. Tang Ao realized that he had led himself into a dead end. Since a person like Cloud Emperor had left a backup plan in the fallen god abyss, he must have made thorough preparations. However, Cloud Emperor was still here. Letting an unknown martialist help him extract the soul blood meant that there was a problem with the backup plan. Before Cloud Emperor could react, something suddenly appeared in Tang Ao's hand. It was a resplendent ball of lightning. The ball of lightning emitted a terrifying aura that even turbid Heaven Realm experts would be shaken. Seeing the ball of lightning in Tang Ao's hand, Cloud Emperor's expression changed drastically. Especially after sensing the connection between Tang Ao and the ball of lightning, Cloud Emperor knew that if he killed Tang Ao now, the ball of lightning would immediately explode. Such a lightning ball was a fatal threat to peak turbid heaven stage experts, but it could not harm his remembrance clone. Although it couldn't hurt his psyche doppelganger, the surrounding formation would definitely shatter under the impact of the lightning ball. With the formation shattered, his remembrance clone naturally couldn't exist. The Cloud Emperor had never expected that his adopted son would betray him all those years ago. Not only did the Cloud Emperor not take out his soul blood, but he even told Mo-in all the backup plans he had. Even his soul blood would have been turned into ashes by Mo-in if the space in the fallen god abyss had not changed irregularly due to a freak combination of factors. Hence, the Cloud Emperor did not take this remembrance doppelganger seriously at first. In fact, it was just a small safeguard outside of his plans. However, the Cloud Emperor had never expected that this most insignificant link would eventually become his only hope. If this palace was destroyed, then there would be no possibility of his resurrection. Or rather, the possibility of his resurrection would be next to nothing. Unless someone happened to bring out his soul blood from the fallen god abyss. This possibility was not impossible, but the probability was too small. The Cloud Emperor did not dare to gamble. Right now, letting Tang Ao search for his soul blood in the fallen god abyss was the safest method. Moreover, Tang Ao had taken out the heavenly thunder pearl instead of detonating it. Clearly, Tang Ao did not want to die. He just wanted to negotiate with the Cloud Emperor. Chapter 27:31. I don't want your Cloud Mist Immortal Protectorate or anything of yours. Take the Cloud Soul Nail out of my spiritual sea and let me go. How about that? The Cloud Mist Immortal Protectorate was here. As long as Tang Ao's cultivation was strong enough, he could come here at any time. If Tang Ao was willing to risk it, he could detonate the Sky Thunder Bead after the Cloud Emperor took the Cloud Soul Nail out and kill the Cloud Emperor's psyche clone. Then, Tang Ao would be able to obtain the Cloud Mist Immortal Protectorate. However, Tang Ao didn't expect that the power of the Sky Thunder Bead wouldn't be able to destroy the Cloud Emperor's psyche clone. The Psyche clone was restricted by the array formation in the palace, and the array formation couldn't withstand the power of the Sky Thunder Bead's explosion. Impossible, the Cloud Emperor said without any hesitation. Tang Ao was the person with the highest chance of finding his soul blood in the fallen god abyss. If he let Tang Ao go after Tang Ao found out about his existence, he would be digging his own grave. Then there's nothing to talk about. Tang Ao's face turned cold. As he circulated his celestial essence energy, the Sky Thunder Bead spat out terrifying lightning arcs as though it would explode at any time. You don't have to bluff. This is the place where I cultivate. Although it has been plundered countless times, my wealth is still beyond your imagination. As long as you help me find my soul blood in the fallen god abyss, I can give you half of my wealth. As long as I'm alive, I can help you no matter what problems you encounter in the future. Tang Ao interrupted the Cloud Emperor. I don't trust you. With the Cloud Soul Nail in my spiritual sea, you can kill me with a single thought. Furthermore, even if I rescued you from the Godfall Abyss, it would still be extremely easy for you to kill me. Even if I have 1,000 years, I don't have the means to resist a godly king. If you aren't willing to let me go, I can only die together with you. Tang Ao had a resolute look on his face. Tang Ao did not want to die, but Tang Ao was not afraid of death. Tang Ao would never do something where his life was completely in the hands of the other party. Even if Tang Ao agreed to search for the Cloud Sovereign's soul blood in the fallen god abyss, Tang Ao had to have a way to counter the Cloud Sovereign. At that time, it would be best if Tang Ao's cultivation far surpassed that of the Cloud Emperor. At that time, even if the Cloud Emperor was reborn, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Tang Ao. Wait, there's nothing that can't be discussed. The Cloud Emperor also saw the determination in Tang Ao's eyes. The Cloud Emperor knew that if he couldn't give Tang Ao a satisfactory solution or let Tang Ao leave, this divine thunder pearl would definitely explode here today. There was hesitation in the Cloud Emperor's eyes, but he only hesitated for a moment before saying, I have an idea. If you can't accept it, you can just explode the divine thunder pearl. After saying that, the Cloud Emperor waved his sleeve and a black and white jade pendant appeared in front of him. The life and death jade token. Although Tang Ao said that he was ignorant, Tang Ao was not ignorant. As the grand disciple of alchemy sage Green Rock, Tang Ao had inherited countless treasures from him. Among them, Tang Ao's knowledge of the various treasures in the world was even stronger than that of a Dao master expert. Tang Ao recognized the life and death jade token at a glance. Alright, since you know this item, I don't have to explain it. How about using the life and death jade token to bind the two of us? The Cloud Emperor was not willing to use the life and death jade token unless he had no other choice. The chaotic hexagram mirror, the fire Dao law, and the half-thunder Dao law that Tang Ao had were all coveted by the Cloud Emperor. The life and death jade token was a powerful immortal artifact from the ancient era. Once a trace of soul was injected into both parties, it would form a binding force. As long as one party died, the other party would immediately die. Looking at the life and death jade token, Tang Ao's thoughts turned quickly. Tang Ao did not think that a person like the Cloud Emperor would compromise so easily. Even under such circumstances, Tang Ao did not think that the Cloud Emperor would compromise so easily. However, Tang Ao could not think of any loopholes at the moment. Even a Divine King expert would need to spend a lot of time to remove the life and death jade token. It could be said that as long as Tang Ao and the Cloud Emperor injected a trace of soul, the two of them would be completely bound together. If Tang Ao died, the Cloud Emperor would not be able to live either. No. Even if he did not kill me, if a Divine King expert wanted to imprison me, I would not even have the chance to kill myself. As long as he could imprison me, he would have a lot of time to break the binding of the life and death jade token. Also, if he tried to take over my body and imprison my soul instead of devouring it, I would also die. I can use the life and death jade token, but I have to decide the time to go to the fallen god abyss. Before I cultivate to the divine king realm, I will not go to the fallen god abyss to extract your soul blood. Chapter 2732. Hearing Cloud Emperor's angry voice, Tang Ao was not angry at all. Instead, he was overjoyed. From Cloud Emperor's attitude, Tang Ao could tell that this matter could indeed be discussed. Of course, Tang Ao did not expect Cloud Emperor to agree to let him cultivate to God King Realm before going to Fallen God Abyss. In this world, no one could guarantee that they would be able to cultivate to God King Realm. For an ordinary martial artist, from body refining realm to astral reaching realm, as long as their aptitude was not bad and they had enough cultivation resources, as long as they didn't die, they could basically cultivate to astral reaching realm. However, after astral reaching realm, the path of cultivation opened another door. Breaking through from astral reaching realm to yin-yang realm meant that martial artists could already use the power of laws. In simpler terms, if body refining realm to astral reaching realm was an accumulation of quantity, then from astral reaching realm to yin-yang realm, it was a leap in quality. This was a rebirth, a change that could split the heavens and earth. Moreover, from yin-yang realm, the further one went, the more difficult it would be. Therefore, even if a god-king expert reincarnated, he might not have 100% chance of returning to his peak. Therefore, when Tang Ao proposed the condition of cultivating to God King Realm to fulfill his promise, Cloud Emperor would not accept it. Seeing that Tang Ao did not speak, Cloud Emperor let out a long sigh and said, "I swear by the great Tao that after you save me, I will not take over your body. I will not do anything to you. What do you think?" Cloud Emperor was truly helpless. Although the two seemed to be evenly matched, Cloud Emperor knew his own situation. Cloud Emperor had personally entered the fallen god abyss before. Therefore, he knew how difficult it was to find things there. If Tang Ao did not take out the Sky Thunder Bead, and if Tang Ao was truly unwilling to come to an agreement, Cloud Emperor would not hesitate to kill Tang Ao. But now, Cloud Emperor could not. He had already reached a point where he could not retreat. He could not afford to lose. Since Cloud Emperor said that I won't be able to reach the Divine King Realm in 10,000 years, why don't I go to the Fallen God Abyss 5,000 years later to fulfill my promise? Tang Ao knew that it was impossible for him to stall for time with the Cloud Emperor. However, Tang Ao still wanted to try his best to buy as much time as possible. Tang Ao could not guarantee that he would be able to cultivate to the God King Realm in the end, but Tang Ao was sure that the longer he delayed, the higher his cultivation would be. In fact, Tang Ao did not need to cultivate to the Divine King Realm. As long as Tang Ao had the cultivation of the Tao Master Realm, Tang Ao could guarantee that the Cloud Emperor would not be able to kill him. The Purple Thunder Heavenly Escape was the #1 escape technique of the true martial realm. It was not a joke. As long as Tang Ao had the cultivation of the Tao Master Realm, with the Purple Thunder Heavenly Escape, even if the Cloud Emperor was a Divine King expert, he would not be able to do anything to Tang Ao. In 5,000 years, Tang Ao did not have the slightest confidence that he could cultivate to the Divine King Realm. However, if Tang Ao could cultivate to the Tao Master Realm, Tang Ao felt that he could still fight for it. Let me tell you the truth. Although my soul blood is in the wooden box, it will lose its vitality in another 1,200 years. Therefore, I can only give you 1,200 years. If you are not willing, then do it. After the Cloud Emperor finished speaking, there was a trace of exhaustion in his eyes. The difficulty of dealing with Tang Ao was beyond the Cloud Emperor's imagination. Many of the experts who had come to this place before Tang Ao had been the proud sons of heaven. However, under the Cloud Emperor's benevolence, they had quickly gone to the Earth Devil world to help the Cloud Emperor search for soul blood. Although many people had gone there, it was obvious that no one had succeeded so far. This was also the reason why the Cloud Emperor valued Tang Ao so much. Chapter 2733. 1,200 Years. Alright, if Junior can cultivate to the chaotic sky realm within 1,200 years, I'll definitely help Senior retrieve the Builderwood blood box from the fallen god Abyss. If not, Junior can only die here. With a chaotic sky realm cultivation base, even with the Purple Thunder heavenly escape art, one couldn't escape from a God King expert. Even if Cloud Emperor seemed to have retreated to the bottom line, Tang Ao was sure that this old fox still had some tricks up his sleeves. Ha ha ha! Cloud Emperor burst into laughter, then said, "Good, good, good! The Builderwood blood box can last for 3,000 years at most. I guarantee that after you retrieve my soul blood from the fallen god Abyss, I won't harm you. As long as you retrieve my soul blood from the fallen god Abyss, apart from the Cloud Immortal Domain, I'll also give you these treasures." As Cloud Emperor spoke, a jade pendant appeared in his hand. Cloud Emperor casually threw the jade pendant over. Tang Ao hesitated for a moment, but still caught the jade pendant. Tang Ao scanned the jade pendant with his soul remembrance, and discovered that it was also a world of its own. Inside the jade pendant, there was a tower flickering with golden light. When Tang Ao's soul remembrance touched the tower, he was immediately dazzled by the treasures inside. Tang Ao was not a person without knowledge. Heaven-raising godly needle, primal beginning sacred sky bow, these kinds of supreme treasures, Tang Ao had more than one on him. Moreover, Tang Ao also had the wealth of many chaotic sky realm experts and 2 Dao sovereigns. From this, one could imagine Tang Ao's wealth. Even ordinary Dao sovereigns might not be as wealthy as Tang Ao. And Tang Ao was only an astral-reaching expert. However, at this moment, Tang Ao was still shocked by the treasures inside the 9-dragon gold pagoda. The pagoda had a total of 9 floors, and Tang Ao discovered that the treasures he had were not even 1/10 of the first floor. Moreover, this was only the lowest floor. The higher one went, the fewer treasures there were. However, the treasures became more and more precious. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Tang Ao would find it hard to believe that a God King powerhouse could actually be wealthy to such an extent. After seeing these items, Tang Ao was overjoyed. If these resources were given to him, Tang Ao would have some confidence in breaking through to the God King realm within 10,000 years. After all, as long as one comprehended the 9 dragons' Emperor Jade body, there would be no bottleneck. It was just that the 9 dragons' Emperor's Jade body consumed a lot of cultivation resources. But if he had enough resources, Tang Ao would definitely be able to reach the God King realm with his talent and foundation. However, at that moment, Tang Ao suddenly saw a painting on the first layer suddenly explode, turning into specks of light that filled the sky and dissipating without a trace. Tang Ao immediately felt that it was a pity. No matter what, this painting was a grade 8 celestial artifact. Even in the first level, it was an extremely precious item. How could it be destroyed so suddenly? At this moment, the Cloud Emperor's voice could be heard. "All of my wealth is here. It's just that this 9 dragons gold pagoda is sealed by restrictions, and it is closely related to my soul blood. Every time my soul blood weakens, the treasures inside will shatter. If the soul blood restriction is broken, the restrictions on the 9 dragons gold pagoda will also dissipate. Apart from the treasures of this pagoda, this 9 dragons gold pagoda itself is also a peak innate artifact. Now I will give it to you." The Cloud Emperor's voice was very casual, as if this boundless wealth was nothing to him. Chapter 2734. If Tang Ao wanted to obtain the treasures in the 9-dragon golden pagoda and reduce his losses, he could only go to the fallen god Abyss and retrieve the Cloud Emperor's soul blood as soon as possible. At this thought, Tang Ao sighed softly. He separated a strand of his soul and fused it with the jade of life and death. The Cloud Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. Without waiting for Tang Ao to regret his decision, he turned into a strand of his soul and entered the jade of life and death. When the jade of life and death disappeared, a token fell from the sky. Tang Ao caught it with one hand. The words Cloud Emperor's token were engraved on it. After receiving the token, Tang Ao immediately felt a special connection with the Cloud Mist Immortal Realm. At this moment, countless information gathered from the Cloud Emperor's token into Tang Ao's sea of consciousness. Tang Ao's eyes were filled with excitement. Turned out that the Cloud Mist Immortal City could be moved to the outside world. In other words, if Tang Ao wanted to, Tang Ao could make the Cloud Mist Immortal City appear in the unbounded Desolation Realm at any time. The reason why Cloud Mist Immortal City was here was because Cloud Emperor and his enemy had fought back then. Cloud Emperor and his enemy had perished together, leaving only a Psyche doppelganger here. Although the Cloud Emperor's soul clone was not bad, the Cloud Emperor did not dare to let the Cloud Mist Immortal City's name spread far and wide. Therefore, he hid the Cloud Mist Immortal City in the Cloud Mist Immortal Realm. In addition, there were 4 guardian ancient cities near the Thousand Feather Snow Mountain. These 4 guardian ancient cities were like the 4 guards of the Cloud Mist Immortal City. Among the 4 guardian ancient cities, there were teleportation arrays that led to the Cloud Mist Immortal City. Although there were many twists and turns this time, Tang Ao still obtained the Cloud Emperor's token. Although Tang Ao knew that the Cloud Emperor would definitely take back the Cloud Mist Immortal Realm when his cultivation base recovered, Tang Ao still decided to use the Cloud Mist Immortal Realm. It would not be easy for the Cloud Emperor to take back something that had fallen into Tang Ao's hands. Moreover, if Tang Ao was lucky enough to cultivate to the Divine King Realm, then the Cloud Emperor would never be able to take back the Cloud Mist Immortal Realm. The Xiantian 10 Great Secret Realms were treasures of the heavens and earth to begin with. They belonged to whoever obtained them. After obtaining the Cloud Emperor's token, Tang Ao sighed inwardly. The Cloud Emperor's reaction had been too fast. He hadn't even given Tang Ao a chance to react before the Soul Remembrance Clone's remnant soul merged into the Life and Death Jade token. Originally, Tang Ao had planned on having Cloud Sovereign bring out 1 or 2 items from the Golden 9 Dragon Pagoda for him. Fortunately, Cloud Sovereign kept his promise. When the remnant soul fused with the Life and Death Jade token, the 2 Cloud Soul spikes in Tang Ao's Sea of Wisdom disappeared. Although the crisis had been resolved, Tang Ao still felt a little uneasy. Because of the existence of the Life and Death Jade token, Tang Ao and the Cloud Emperor immediately became grasshoppers tied to the same thread. If the Cloud Emperor was at his peak, then Tang Ao would have ascended to the heavens in a single step. He would be able to ride on the coattails of a Divine King expert. Unfortunately, the Cloud Emperor was only left with a drop of soul blood. Once the soul blood disappeared, the Cloud Emperor would die completely. Even Tang Ao would die without a doubt. At the thought of this, Tang Ao's heart became worried again. Now, Tang Ao had no other way. Even a Tao Master expert couldn't remove the Life and Death Jade token. Only a Divine King expert could remove it. Moreover, even a Divine King expert couldn't remove it in a short period of time. Therefore, even if Tang Ao was unwilling, he had to plan when he would go to the fallen god abyss to retrieve the Cloud Emperor's soul blood. Chapter 2735. Moreover, looking at the treasures in the 9 Dragon Golden Pagoda shattering every now and then, Tang Ao knew that the Cloud Emperor had put in a lot of effort to get him to the fallen god abyss as soon as possible. With the Cloud Emperor's token in hand, Tang Ao arrived at Cloud Mist Immortal City in a flash. The moment Bai Shihan saw Tang Ao, she flew over from afar. "Senior brother Tang Ao, where did you go just now? I couldn't find you anywhere. Are you all right?" "I'm fine. I obtained the Cloud Emperor's token." Tang Ao shook his head. He could feel Bai Shihan's concern. Compared to her sister Bai Shiming, Bai Shihan was too pure and kind. What's the Cloud Emperor's token? Bai Shihan knew about the existence of Cloud Mist Immortal Domain from the time plate, but she didn't know much about an ancient expert like the Cloud Emperor. Moreover, the time plate wasn't the Cloud Emperor's treasure. It was snatched by the Cloud Emperor in the past. The Cloud Emperor's token is the token that controls this heaven and earth. As Tang Ao spoke, he took out the Cloud Sovereign's token and swiped it across the ground. The Cloud Mist Immortal City that had been reduced to ruins started to tremble at this moment. Countless broken walls and ruins started to tremble as if time was reversing. After a while, the Cloud Mist Immortal City that was originally in ruins looked brand new. It had once again become a magnificent city. In fact, even the formation above the city had been repaired. With Tang Ao's discerning ability, he was naturally able to discern with a single glance that the formation above the city that had the image of a golden dragon coiled around it was a Grade 9 Immortal Slaughter formation. With such an array, no one could do anything to Tang Ao as long as a Dao Master expert didn't make a move. Looking at this miraculous scene, Tang Ao was overjoyed. Although Cloud Mist Immortal City was just a city, with the Cloud Emperor's token, Tang Ao could control everything in Cloud Mist Immortal Domain as he pleased. Tang Ao realized that this place was too suitable for a sect. The laws of heaven and earth were incomparably clear. With a Grade 9 Immortal Protective Array, the immortal spiritual energy was also very dense. The space was vast, and it was possible to set up many trial mystic realms to train disciples. Tang Ao had once been the sect master of 7 kills for a period of time, so he naturally had a good understanding of these matters. Furthermore, since the sect was established in the realm of unbounded desolation, it had an endless supply of demon beasts to practice on. This was only true for sects, but for individuals, Cloud Mist Immortal City was also an incredible place. After Tang Ao brought Bai Shihan to the central square of Cloud Mist Immortal City, they immediately saw 10 mysterious spatial fluctuations spreading in all directions in the center of the square. The entire plaza was an incomparably huge teleportation array. This teleportation array was simple and ancient, and the words on it were written in primordial runes. Tang Ao didn't know much about primordial runes, but he could still recognize the words, Infinite World Teleportation Array. As his soul remembrance sunk into the teleportation array, Tang Ao immediately captured the auras of countless planes. It was as if he could use this teleportation array to reach any place. Among them, Tang Ao even sensed a very familiar aura. It was the Black-Yellow Continent, the 5 Elements demonic realm. At this moment, Tang Ao even had an impulse to go to the Black-Yellow Continent to see how the 7 Kills sect was doing. After all, Tang Ao had left the Black-Yellow Continent for so long that the Black-Yellow Continent seemed to have forgotten that there used to be such a legendary genius in the Black-Yellow Continent. However, Tang Ao resisted the urge because Tang Ao didn't know how to return after the teleportation. Chapter 2736. Of course, Tang Ao also had thoughts of going to the sacred martial realm to find remembrance. After all, Tang Ao's master was a demigod expert. Tang Ao might not be able to do anything to the life and death jade medallion, but perhaps remembrance might be able to. After withdrawing his soul from the myriad world teleportation formation, Tang Ao took out the Imperial Cloud Medallion. Since the Cloud Emperor had given this place to him, Tang Ao naturally wouldn't stand on ceremony with the Cloud Emperor. With a thought from Tang Ao, the 3 ancient characters on the Imperial Cloud Medallion began to twist. A moment later, they transformed into the words Eternal. Then Bai Shihan saw that Tang Ao had changed the words Cloud Immortal City to Eternal Immortal City. Tang Ao already had a plan in mind. Tang Ao's original plan was to establish the 7 Kills sect in the unbounded desolation region. But now Tang Ao had changed his mind. First, the Seven Kills sect had long since been passed down in the true martial realm. It was just that Tang Ao hadn't been able to find where it was. Furthermore, Tang Ao's cultivation techniques, magical arts, and secret arts didn't all originate from the Seven Kills sect. Tang Ao's early cultivation technique, the ancient god moves the heavens art, was a mid-grade divine technique from the immemorial era. Tang Ao's later cultivation technique, the mysterious heaven art, was also a divine canon from the immemorial era. The complete mysterious heaven arts grade was even higher than the ancient god moves the heavens art. It was a high-grade divine technique. As for his current cultivation technique, it was the heavenly lightning Tao art. Its grade had also reached the pinnacle. It was truly a top-grade divine technique. As for Tang Ao's magical arts and secret arts, there were even more type. Adding on the devil arts he had mastered in his previous life, he couldn't even count them all. So Tang Ao planned to establish a new sect to spread his grand Tao. When Tang Ao had such a thought, he immediately felt a strong sense of expectation in his heart. The sect's name will be the Xiantian Tao sect. The ancient god moving heavens technique focused on talent. Those with poor talent would not be able to cultivate it. The purple thunder Tao technique focused on spiritual root. Without a pure thunder spiritual root, even if one cultivated the purple thunder Tao technique, one would not be able to achieve much. In this way, the mysterious heaven method had the greatest tolerance. The mysterious heaven method did not have any strict requirements for martial arts talent, nor did it require one to have a special spiritual root. In any case, Tang Ao had come to the realm of unbounded desolation to claim territory. Since he had found the eternal immortal domains in this place, it could be considered destiny. Therefore, he decided to establish his sect here. Of course, Tang Ao wasn't the first person to establish a sect in the realm of unbounded desolation. There were all kinds of forces in the realm of unbounded desolation, many of which were major sections. Why did they take so long to arrive? Just as Tang Ao's mind was filled with countless thoughts, Tang Ao's communication jade strip suddenly vibrated. When Tang Ao looked over, he saw that it was a message from Ning Xuanma. Senior brother Tang Ao, 3 life and death realm warriors from the Ice Tiger City have arrived. I have already subdued them. How should we deal with them? I'll be right there. With a simple reply, Tang Ao and Bai Shihan stepped into the teleportation portal. When they reappeared, Tang Ao and Bai Shihan were in the Thousand Feather Village. Now that the Eternal Medallion was in Tang Ao's possession, Tang Ao immediately sensed that there were 4 enormous cities hidden underground in all 4 directions. These 4 majestic cities guarded the 4 directions with a tall and straight mountain peak in the distance as the center. However, there were special concealment restrictions on them. That was why even though Tang Ao's soul perception was powerful and he was a rank 4 immortal formation master, Tang Ao hadn't been able to detect them. Chapter 2737. Tang Ao walked to the front and saw 3 life and death realm warriors being suppressed by Ning Xuanma. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They could not imagine that a small place like the Thousand Feather Village would have a warrior who could suppress the 3 of them. Although they could not believe it, their expressions were still very arrogant. When the leader saw Tang Ao, he immediately let out a cold snort and said, I advise you to quickly let him go and follow me to Ice Tiger City to beg for forgiveness. Otherwise, if the city lord gets angry, the Thousand Feather Mountain will be razed to the ground in an instant. The 3 of you won't have a good ending either. After hearing this warrior, Tang Ao could not help but have a hint of mockery in his eyes. That Ice Tiger City leader was at most at the 9th level of astral reaching realm. This Thousand Feather Mountain had a rank 9 immortal array. If an astral reaching realm warrior did not know about arrays, he would not be able to break it even if he exhausted his lifespan. Although this rank 9 immortal array was not protecting the Thousand Feather Village, if someone tried to destroy the Thousand Feather Mountain, the array would definitely be activated. Tang Ao casually threw out 2 beams of sword chi, and the 2 warriors behind him puked out a mouthful of blood. Their cultivation had been destroyed by Tang Ao directly. The warrior who spoke just now saw Tang Ao destroy the cultivation of 2 elders of the Ice Tiger City without saying anything. He only thought that Tang Ao was a madman, and Tang Ao did not know anything about the Ice Tiger City at all. Although he was the leader of the 3, the young man on his right behind him was not ordinary. He was the nephew of the city leader, Huahehu. This was something that everyone in the Ice Tiger City knew. However, he knew that this Huatsong was not the nephew of the city leader. He was the illegitimate son of the city leader. Thinking about how Tang Ao destroyed Huatsong's cultivation, Su Yuan felt like the sky was falling down. "You crippled my cultivation?" Huatsong's eyes were filled with madness. He did not expect that someone would dare to destroy his cultivation in this small thousand-feather village. "Are you an idiot? I crippled your cultivation base and you don't know?" Tang Ao understood that these 3 guys had come to Qinyu village to kill people. If it were not for him, Ning Xuanma, and Jin Chen being in Qinyu village, then facing 3 life and death realm warriors, Qinyu village would not have been able to escape this catastrophe. Tang Ao had warned the Ice Tiger City Lord not to provoke him last time. Now, it seemed that the Ice Tiger City Lord did not take his warning to heart. With that thought in mind, Tang Ao sent out another strand of sword chi. When Tang Ao's sword energy entered Su Yuan's dantian, Su Yuan's expression changed. He knew that he was finished. After Tang Ao's sword chi pierced into his dantian, it began to emit wisps of sword intent. After a certain period of time, the sword intent would explode, and he would follow in Huatsong's footstep. I said it last time. I don't want to see anyone from the Ice Tiger City near the Thousand Feather Snow Mountain. Get lost. After Tang Ao finished speaking, he waved his big sleeves and directly threw Su Yuan and the other 2 out. Su Yuan's eyes revealed a trace of resentment, but he still grabbed Huatsong and Jin Chen and rushed toward the Ice Tiger City. Now, he could only pray that he could quickly return to the Ice Tiger City and beg the city lord to dissolve the sword chi in his body. Chapter 2738. But now, Tang Ao realized that he was wrong. If the 3 of them had just left, the hundreds of people in the Qinyu village would not have survived. Tang Ao looked back and found that everyone in the Qinyu village had walked out. Even though he had chased away the 3 people from the Ice Tiger City, everyone's eyes were still filled with fear. Tang Ao's heart thumped. Since he was going to establish a sect here, he should also benefit the people. With this thought in mind, Tang Ao decided not to wait for the people from the Ice Tiger City to find him. Tang Ao decided to pay a visit to the Ice Tiger City Lord himself. Ice Tiger City was a big city that had been established for 800 years. Many years ago, this city wasn't called Ice Tiger City. However, after Huahehu killed the original city lord and seized the city, Huahehu changed the name to Ice Tiger City. Since then, everyone living in the Ice Tiger City had been shrouded in darkness. Every year, a large number of beauties had to be sent to the Ice Tiger City for Huahehu's cultivation. Apart from that, they had to grow a lot of spiritual grains and some precious things. The warriors and mortals under the jurisdiction of the Ice Tiger City had to spend most of their time cultivating spiritual objects to fulfill the requirements of the Ice Tiger City. In the main hall of the Ice Tiger City, Huahehu was enjoying the spiritual fruits handed to him by the beauties. Behind him, 2 enchanting life and death realm warriors were massaging his shoulders. At this moment, Huahehu was filled with regret. He regretted not coming to the unbounded desolation earlier. If he had come earlier, his life would have been more comfortable for hundreds of years. Lord Hua, The riot in the Green Peak Villa has been settled. However, the daughter of the villa lord has not been found yet. A black-robed young man stood respectfully in front of Huahehu. His back was almost touching the ground. Obviously, he was very respectful and afraid of Huahehu. Trash. You can't even find a little girl at the Sea of Souls realm. Huahehu lifted his foot and kicked the black-robed young man's face. The latter did not dare to dodge, and blood instantly flowed out of his mouth. After all, he was only at the first level of the life and death realm. How could he withstand Huahehu's kick? Huahehu was very satisfied when he saw that the black-clad young man did not dodge. However, as Huahehu flew into a rage, the hands of the young lady who was feeding him the spirit fruits trembled. In an instant, the spirit fruits on the jade plate fell to the ground. The young girl's expression changed dramatically. She was so nervous that she couldn't speak. Before she could say anything, Li Yong raised his knife, and a line of blood appeared on the young girl's throat. All the martial artists in Ice Tiger City knew that Li Yong was Huahehu's most loyal servant. Ha! When Huahehu saw this, he finally laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with admiration. Huahehu was really satisfied with Li Yong. Before he even said anything, Li Yong already knew what he was thinking. However, before Huahehu could laugh for long, a flustered figure rushed into the hall. The person who rushed into the hall was Su Yuan. At this moment, Su Yuan was covered in cold sweat and his face was as pale as paper. Upon entering the main hall, Su Yuan immediately knelt in front of Huahehu and said with a trembling voice, "City Lord, young Master Hua Tsong's cultivation was crippled in Qianyu village. Chapter 2739. A couple of warriors came to the Thousand Feather Village out of nowhere, and they seemed to be at the astral reaching realm. Su Yuan really wanted to tell his story, but he did not dare to. Looking at the corpses on the ground, Su Yuan knew that with Huahehu's anger, he would become one of them if he was not careful. Impossible! A small place like the Thousand Feather Village. Even life and death realm warriors would not pass by. How could there be astral reaching realm warriors here? I want to see who it is that dares to go against me, Huahehu. Huahehu waved his hand and a staff appeared with both of his hands. Don't bother, I am coming. The moment Huahehu took over the staff, the roof of the palace was blown open. Then, Tang Ao and the other two appeared in the palace. The earth-shattering sound of the explosion shook the whole city. Countless cultivators and guards rushed over from all directions and surrounded Tang Ao's group of 3. Countless people in the Ice Tiger City looked over to the palace with a strange expression. There were a lot of people who wanted to kill Huahehu, but no one thought that there was someone in the Ice Tiger City who could do it. Although a lot of people hoped that the warriors who tried to kill Huahehu would succeed, they all knew that it was just a self-deception. As soon as Tang Ao appeared, he could see through Huahehu's cultivation. Originally, Tang Ao thought that this Huahehu was at most a level 1 or 2 astral reaching realm warrior. But now, Tang Ao realized that this Huahehu was way too cautious. With his half-step yin-yang realm cultivation, he was hiding in a small place like this. Excluding the cloud mist immortal region that no one else knew about, the Ice Tiger City was a completely barren place. This area was indeed hiding a secret, but Tang Ao did not think that this Huahehu would be able to find it since he had not been able to find it before. Ha ha ha, you 3 are quite brave. You hurt my people and still dare to show up in front of me. Huahehu could not see through Tang Ao and Jin Chen's cultivation, but he could see through Ning Xian's level 6 astral reaching realm. In Huahehu's opinion, since the 3 of them had come together, the gap between them should not be too big. Plus, the Ice Tiger City was such a poor place. If it were not for him hiding here to train his evil martial arts, there would not be any astral reaching realm warriors coming here. If it were back in the old days, facing 3 astral reaching realm warriors at the same time, Huahehu would have found it a bit tricky. But now, Huahehu directly shook his staff and threw it towards Jinchen. The reason why Huahehu chose Jinchen was because, in his opinion, Jinchen's aura was the strongest. Even though Huahehu was not afraid of the three of them ganging up on him, Huahehu still planned on killing Jinchen. When Huahehu saw that Jinchen did not dodge his staff strike, he immediately revealed a cruel smile. With his half-step yin-yang realm cultivation, even a level 9 astral-reaching realm warrior would not dare to take one attack from him. As Huahehu's Buddhist staff fell, a white ghost immediately howled out of it. The ghost opened its mouth as if it wanted to swallow Jin Chen's soul in one gulp. At the side, Li Yong's head was still very low, making it impossible to see his expression. However, a trace of disappointment flashed across Li Yong's eyes. Huahehu, I'm not Li Yong. I'm Li Yu of the Li family. You are guilty of many crimes. Today will be the day you die. After saying that, Li Yu waved his sleeve and 36 bone awls suddenly flew out. These 36 bone awls instantly pierced through the wounds on Li Yu's body. Li Yu was immediately nailed to the ground with a pale face. Huahehu, who was in midair, also exploded with a rain of blood. Following that, it was as if there were 36 invisible bone awls slowly nailing Huahehu to the void. After being nailed by the bone awls, Huahehu could no longer use the death substitution art. Li Yu, on the other hand, did not hesitate to raise his dagger and stab it at his own heart. Tang Ao waved his sleeve, and Li Yu's dagger fell to the ground. Jin Chen's figure then flickered and appeared in front of Huahehu. Jin Chen roared angrily, and his fist flashed with golden lightning. Jin Chen punched down, and Huahehu watched in horror as Jin Chen's fist grew larger in his eyes. Finally, a terrifying explosion rang out in all directions, and Huahehu turned into a mist of blood. When a black shadow tried to escape, it was blasted into nothingness by the lightning around Jin Chen. Even without Li Yu, Huahehu would not have been able to escape today. Although Huahehu's death substitution art was very strange, Tang Ao could still use the primordial sacred sky bow to kill him. However, with Li Yu restraining Huahehu, it would be much easier to deal with Huahehu. There were two reasons why Li Yu and Huahehu did not die together. Firstly, it was not necessary. Secondly, Tang Ao rather admired Li Yu. Chapter 2741. A life-reaping seal, huh? Interesting. Tang Ao noticed that black qi was emanating from Li Yu's body. The source of the black qi was Li Yu's heart. Where Li Yu's heart was, there was a life-reaping seal. This so-called life-reaping seal was also a type of trigger seal. After such a seal was set up, it would not be activated immediately, but it would be activated when certain conditions were met. It was obvious that although Li Yu had endured the humiliation of hiding under Huahehu, Huahehu still did not fully trust Li Yu. That was why Huahehu had left such a seal in Li Yu's body. Huahehu would not be affected after Li Yu's death, but if Huahehu died, Li Yu would die as well. If it were anyone else, even a 4th-grade immortal array master, they would be helpless against such a life-reaping seal. However, Tang Ao was an exception because Yun Xiaoyao had long created a way to break it. Moreover, Li Yu was no ordinary person. Although Li Yu did not completely break the life-reaping seal in his body, he had broken through 30% of it. That was why Li Yu did not die immediately after Huahehu's death. Breaking through 30% was obviously not enough, but Li Yu's eyes were calm. He was no longer that concerned about his own life and death. He had lost everything, and he had no reason to live. You have a death wish, but I won't let you die. Tang Ao did not enlighten Li Yu. Instead, he threw out a bunch of array flags and enveloped Li Yu within it. Of course, Tang Ao was not such a senseless person. Tang Ao admired Li Yu a lot. However, Tang Ao also knew that a person like Li Yu, who had endured humiliation for many years, would finally get what he wanted. Dying now would be a form of release for Li Yu. However, Tang Ao felt that Li Yu was a talent. If he wanted to build his own force in the vicinity, he would naturally need help. As the array flags in Tang Ao's hand continued to fall, rays of light intertwined and formed a dazzling totem in midair. Rays of gentle light bloomed, and a black shadow floated out from Li Yu's heart, shattering into nothingness. After the jet-black soul shadow shattered, the seal in Li Yu's body naturally dissipated. Li Yu looked at Tang Ao with a complicated expression. Li Yu was very grateful to Tang Ao. It was not because Tang Ao had saved him, but because Tang Ao had killed Hua Heihu and avenged his family. Even though Hua Heihu was not killed by Tang Ao himself, and even though he had paid a huge price to kill Hua Heihu. However, as smart as Li Yu was, how could he not understand that Jin Chen and Ning Xuanma viewed Tang Ao as their leader? Moreover, Li Yu was very sure that even if he did not use his secret technique to trap Hua Heihu would definitely not be able to escape today. When Hua Heihu was running away, Tang Ao's eyes were filled with interest. He didn't panic at all. Death is not a true release. It is an escape. Only a coward would choose to escape. However, you are not even a coward. You are just a sinner. In order to take revenge, you have stained yourself with the blood of too many innocent people. Therefore, you must live to atone for your sins, Tang Ao said calmly as he looked outside the hall. Chapter 2742. Hua Heihu's death shook the entire city. Even the countless villages and clans around Ice Tiger City experienced an earthquake. Hua Heihu's brutality had been witnessed by all these years. There were few martial artists in Ice Tiger City who didn't want Hua Heihu dead. But everyone understood that such a scourge would not die. Instead, as time passed, he would become a nightmare that would never dissipate. But no one expected Hua Heihu to die at this time. The moment the news of Hua Heihu's death spread, a group of martial artists immediately arrived outside Ice Tiger City. The leader was a bald man with one eye. This man wore an armor made of animal hide and held a bone blade that was half the height of a human. At this moment, his bone blade was pressing down on a young girl in ragged clothes. He looked very arrogant. Hua Heihu said that whoever destroys Green Peak Villa will be the deputy city lord of Ice Tiger City. Now that Hua Heihu is dead, I, Lu Kai, will be the city lord of Ice Tiger City from now on. Lu Kai's voice was extremely loud. Even Tang Ao, who was touring Ice Tiger City, heard his arrogant words. Tang Ao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Tang Ao already knew what kind of person Lu Kai was from Li Yu. Although Hua Heihu was guilty of many crimes, Lu Kai was Hua Heihu's butcher's knife. All these years, it could be said that Lu Kai had participated in all of Hua Heihu's evil deeds. Of course, Tang Ao wouldn't let such a person go. But Tang Ao hadn't looked for Lu Kai yet. He didn't expect Lu Kai to come knocking on his door. When the news of Hua Heihu's death spread, Ice Tiger City was still celebrating. But when they heard Lu Kai's voice, everyone's heart skipped a beat. Yes, Hua Heihu was dead. But this Lu Kai wasn't a good person either. If Lu Kai became the city lord after Hua Heihu's death, not only would they not have a good life, but their future would also be even darker. Soon, Tang Ao brought Jin Chen and the others to the city gate of Ice Tiger City. Tang Ao saw Lu Kai and the people behind him. These people had a strong killing aura around them. It was obvious that they had spent a long time killing and slaughtering. Lu Kai's large saber was pressing down on a young girl. Her clothes were in tatters, and her eyes were lifeless. There was a hint of death in them. Clearly, after being captured by Lu Kai, something terrible had happened to her. You killed Hua Heihu? Seeing Tang Ao and the others coming over, Lu Kai was not afraid at all. Lu Kai now knew that Hua Heihu's death was due to Tang Ao's sneak attack and Li Yu's secret technique. It was a double sneak attack that barely succeeded. Although Lu Kai was not as good as Huahehu, he was not a loner like Huahehu. Lu Kai's cultivation base was already at the 9th level of the astral reaching realm, and behind him were 2 7th level astral reaching realm followers. This was the reason why Lu Kai had the confidence to rush back to the Ice Tiger City. Let her go, then kill yourself. I will give you a chance to reincarnate. Tang Ao naturally saw Lu Kai and the 2 people behind him. But Tang Ao didn't know if this Lu Kai hadn't received the message or if he was brainless. When he killed Huahehu, Jin Chen had shown his yin-yang realm cultivation. Under these circumstances, he still dared to come back. Chapter 2743. This seems to be a barrier. Although Ice Tiger City's cultivators' cultivation bases weren't very high, barriers were very common in the martial world. Heavens, this barrier is probably 10 times the size of Ice Tiger City. Just what's inside? Everyone was shocked, but they were also getting further and further away. No matter what was hidden underground, this scene was too inconceivable. The tremors continued to spread, and the light curtain finally rose from the ground at this time. An ancient aura spread out in all directions. It was as if it had been hidden underground for a long time and had finally seen the light of day. What a majestic city! With the barrier covering the city, people couldn't see it clearly. However, Jin Chen and the others were right above White Tiger City. They were naturally shocked by its grandeur. Li Yu had once been to a Heaven-rank forces city, but it was still much weaker than the White Tiger City that had just risen from the ground. Tang Ao wasn't too shocked. In his eyes, this White Tiger City was not bad. However, compared to the Eternal Immortal City in the Eternal Immortal Domains, it wasn't too far off. This White Tiger City had also been created by the Cloud Emperor. However, the Cloud Immortal City had been the Cloud Emperor's Dao Palace, while this White Tiger City and the other 4 cities had been casually created by the Cloud Emperor. Tang Ao felt that the White Tiger City was ordinary, but the cultivators who were attracted by the powerful fluctuations and those who had left the Ice Tiger City not long ago were shocked speechless when they saw the majestic and imposing White Tiger City in front of them. No one had expected such a city to be hidden beneath Ice Tiger City. Most delightful of all was that the Xiantian Dao sect's sect master, Tang Ao, had allowed anyone to enter White Tiger City. Although no one had ever heard of this sect called the Xiantian Dao sect, the fact that they were able to establish themselves in White Tiger City was a huge boon to the martial artists in this region. White Tiger City had a 6th-grade immortal spirit gathering formation, and the density of the immortal spiritual energy there was already comparable to quite a few cultivation holy lands. In this desolate region, no one dared to imagine such a city could exist. However, what happened next shocked everyone even more. Following White Tiger City, the Azure Dragon City, the Vermilion Bird City, and the Black Tortoise City rose from the ground in the other 3 directions. Both in terms of scale and formations, the 4 cities were almost the same. Moreover, this was not the end. After the 4 great cities appeared, in the central region of the 4 great cities, a mountain range rose from the ground like a miracle, pointing straight into the sky. Tang Ao's evaluation of the 4 great cities was average, but after seeing the Qilin Mountain, Tang Ao sighed in his heart. However, Qilin Mountain was quickly renamed Xiantian Mountain by Tang Ao. It became the headquarters of the Xiantian Dao sect. The realm of unbounded desolation was so vast that it took up more than 60% of the Langya realm. Therefore, many things that could cause great waves in the realm of unbounded desolation wouldn't cause much of a stir in the realm of unbounded desolation. Otherwise, if an ancient city that was as large as the City of Immortality suddenly appeared outside the realm of unbounded desolation, it would naturally attract countless people's attention. Chapter 2744. The Xiantian Dao sect had a sect that far surpassed heaven-ranked powers. However, the founder of the Xiantian Dao sect was only an astral-reaching realm martial artist. This kind of news had spread throughout the eastern region of unbounded desolation. A mere astral-reaching realm martial artist had a sect that surpassed heaven-rank powers. For a moment, many people were tempted. The region of unbounded desolation was vast and boundless. Just the outer region was divided into 4 regions: north, south, east, and west. In the east region, there were 3 Xian rank powers and over 100 Huang rank powers. Around the Xiantian Dao sect, there were over 30 Huang rank powers and 1 Xian rank power. Generally speaking, Xian rank powers would choose to develop in the central region of unbounded desolation instead of the outer region. However, even though they were all Xian rank powers, there was still a huge disparity in power between them. Under such circumstances, some of the Xian rank powers that found it hard to get a foothold in the central region could only settle for the outer region of unbounded desolation. The outer region was the stage for the Huang rank powers to compete, while the Xian rank powers were the highest existences there. If you didn't consider the density of immortal spiritual energy and the amount of cultivation resources, the Xian rank powers in the outer region of unbounded desolation lived better lives than most of the Xian rank powers in the central region. The Fire Saber sect was the second closest Xian rank power to the Xiantian Dao sect. The one closest to Xiantian Mountain was called the Heavenly Sound Valley. Even Ice Tiger City was within the Heavenly Sound Valley's sphere of influence. However, the Heavenly Sound Valley was different from the Fire Saber sect and the Black Beast Palace. The Heavenly Sound Valley didn't have much interest in the Huang rank powers within its sphere of influence. As long as they handed over their cultivation resources on time, the Heavenly Sound Valley would let them develop. The Heavenly Sound Valley also knew about the Xiantian Dao sect's sudden appearance. There were 2 opinions regarding the Xiantian Mountain. One was that the Heavenly Sound Valley was the origin of the sect. Even if the Xiantian Mountain looked better than the Heavenly Sound Valley, it wasn't suitable for the sect to move. The other opinion was that the Xiantian Dao sect was merely a power born from Ice Tiger City. Since it had appeared within the Heavenly Sound Valley's sphere of influence, the Xiantian Mountain should belong to the Heavenly Sound Valley. Whether it was the Fire Saber sect or the Black Beast Palace, although they coveted the Xiantian Mountain, they still followed the rules and could only watch the Heavenly Sound Valley occupy it. However, the Fire Saber sect and the Black Beast Palace were prepared to split the 4 cities at the foot of the Xiantian Mountain equally. What surprised the Fire Saber sect and Black Beast Palace was that after waiting for half a month, there was no movement from the Heavenly Sound Valley. It was as if the Heavenly Sound Valley was not the least bit interested in the sudden appearance of Black Sky Mountain. During this half a month, Tang Ao was very busy. Although Tang Ao had become the sect master of the 7 Kills sect in the Black-Yellow continent, the 7 Kills sect had been established for thousands of years. Therefore, the sect had all kinds of facilities and talent. Therefore, even though Tang Ao was the sect leader, he was just a hands-off boss. But now, the Xiantian Dao sect was starting from zero. Although the Cloud Sovereign had left behind 4 great cities, the 4 great cities did not have defensive formations or trap-killing formations. Tang Ao knew that this was not negligence on the part of the Cloud Emperor, but it was unnecessary. After all, the 4 great cities and the profound Sky Mountain belonged to the Cloud Emperor in ancient times. The Cloud Emperor was a God King. Unless it was a God King of the same level, who would dare to do anything to him? Chapter 2745. Under Tang Ao's constant practice, Tang Ao's alchemy and blacksmithing skills had once again widened. Tang Ao had become a 5th-rank immortal formation master, but Tang Ao's alchemy and blacksmithing skills had remained at the peak of the 3rd rank. Although Tang Ao would be able to break through as long as he had the right opportunity, right now, what Tang Ao lacked the most was time, and there was no suitable opportunity. Senior brother Tang Ao, are we going to create a yellow rank power? Ning Xuanma looked at the majestic sect that had surpassed the heaven rank and was a bit startled. Jin Chen was already a yin-yang realm martial artist, and Tang Ao had also reached the peak of the 9th level of the astral reaching realm, only one step away from the yin-yang realm. But in their previous communication, it seemed that Tang Ao only wanted to create a yellow rank power. It should be known that with two yin-yang realm martial artists, even creating an earth rank power was reasonable. Moreover, other than Tang Ao and Jin Chen, Ning Xuanma himself was also at the 6th level of the astral reaching realm. Bai Shihan and Li Yu had also broken through the life and death realm with Tang Ao's help, officially entering the astral reaching realm. 2 yin-yang realm martial artists and 3 astral reaching realm martial artists. This kind of power was only enough to create a yellow rank power. Of course, Ning Xuanma didn't care about the sect's reputation. He just didn't know what Big Brother Tang Ao wanted to do. Hearing Ning Xuanma's words, Tang Ao immediately began to ponder. After a while, Tang Ao's eyes brightened, and he immediately asked, Li Yu, does it mean that forces below the yellow rank don't have to pay tribute to the Realm Lord Palace? Li Yu was a bit confused by Tang Ao's question, but he still immediately replied, the Realm Lord Palace has set up 4 ranks in the unbounded desolation region: Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow. Forces below the yellow rank will not be recorded by the Realm Lord Palace, so they don't have to pay tribute. But according to the rules, forces below the yellow rank will have to pay resources to the nearest yellow rank power. Then our Xiantian Dao sect doesn't even need to apply to be a yellow power. Tang Ao waved his hand, coming to a decision. Tang Ao felt that it was fine if the Realm Lord Palace didn't give him any resources to support him after all the hard work he had put into exploring the realm of unbounded desolation. But why did he have to give them resources? High Lord, this doesn't seem appropriate. Li Yu smiled bitterly in his heart. Generally speaking, those who came to the realm of unbounded desolation would want to establish their own force as high as possible. However, Tang Ao, in order to take advantage of this loophole, didn't even apply to be a yellow grade force. Although Li Yu felt that it was inappropriate, she found it interesting. Jin Chen and Ning Xuanma, on the other hand, looked at Tang Ao with reverence in their eyes. Tang Ao not only had outstanding battle prowess, but his way of thinking was also unique. Bai Shihan was a bit speechless. In all her years in the realm of unbounded desolation, this was the first time she had heard of a cultivator not applying to be a power because they didn't want to give resources to the Realm Lord Palace. Otherwise, with Tang Ao and the others' strength, even applying to be an earth rank wouldn't be a problem. It's decided. Speaking of which, how are the 4 cities doing? Tang Ao had been busy setting up formation flags during this time, so he had left the 4 cities to Li Yu. Chapter 2746. After listening to Li Yu's words, Tang Ao sighed in his heart. Saving Li Yu was like picking up a treasure. With Li Yu around, Tang Ao didn't need to worry about anything. Who is Qin Yangzi? Tang Ao trusted that as the Xiantian Dao sect's fame spread, more cultivation families and experts would come to the 4 cities. But right now, the Xiantian Dao sect didn't have any. For a grandmaster to come at this time surprised Tang Ao. When he mentioned Qin Yangzi, Li Yu immediately became respectful. Grandmaster Qin Yangzi is a rank 7 immortal equipment master who travels the unbounded desolation region. This time, he is staying in Azure Dragon City temporarily. He will stay in every place for a while, but he won't stay for too long. Hearing that Qin Yangzi was a rank 7 immortal equipment master, Tang Ao's expression changed. Even the ruin of Immortality's Chamber of Commerce didn't have a single rank 7 immortal equipment master. Even in the Langya world, there weren't many rank 7 immortal equipment masters. A rank 7 immortal equipment master could refine immortal items for turbid heaven experts. They were truly immortal equipment grandmasters. You want to leave after delivering yourself to me? I'll go take a look. Tang Ao's words immediately subdued Li Yu. Inside, Li Yu wondered if Tang Ao was going to use force to make Qin Yangzi stay. Thinking of that, Li Yu's expression completely changed. At this time, the attitude of the eastern region's 3 Xian sects wasn't clear. How could they offend a rank 7 immortal equipment master? After giving a few simple instructions, Tang Ao immediately brought Li Yu to visit Qin Yangzi. Jin Chun had originally wanted to go as well, but Tang Ao had arranged for him to cultivate the heavenly lightning Dao art. Although Jin Chun had already reached the Yin Yang realm, he had only just begun to cultivate the heavenly lightning Dao art. Previously, when Tang Ao uprooted the Azure Dragon City, the Azure Dragon City was still an empty city. Now that Tang Ao had returned to the Azure Dragon City, the city was bursting with vitality. There was an endless stream of people on the streets. Cultivators were rushing over from far away. After registering at the city lord's mansion, they could obtain their own residences. The shops on both sides of the street also opened for business one after another. Everything was thriving. Although Tang Ao was the sect master of the Xiantian Dao sect, and the Xiantian Dao sect and the 4 great cities were all under Tang Ao's control, no one recognized Tang Ao as he walked through Azure Dragon City. However, Tang Ao didn't come to Azure Dragon City to show off his identity. Instead, he came to show off Qin Yangzi. Azure Dragon City also had the most cultivators among the 4 great cities because of Qin Yangzi's ancient era. Although not every cultivator who came to display Qin Yangzi would be able to obtain an immortal artifact forged by Qin Yangzi, because Qin Yangzi would publicly forge an immortal artifact in the artifact forging shop. Even if they could not purchase an immortal artifact forged by Qin Yangzi, they could still appreciate the elegance of an artifact forging master. Especially for a low-level refiner, this was a rare opportunity. By watching this kind of master refiner refine weapons, one's attainments in tool refining could be improved to a certain extent. Before Tang Ao and Li Yu even got close, they saw a dense mass of people. These people were gathered in a plaza. At the center of the plaza, Qin Yangzi was currently resting with his eyes closed. There was a formation screen beside Qin Yangzi. Chapter 2747. However, everywhere Qin Yangzi went, he would go with hope and leave with disappointment. At his level of artifact crafting, it would be extremely difficult to improve. Qin Yangzi could still use immortal crystals to purchase immortal equipment below grade 3. But for immortal equipment above grade 3 and grade 6, including grade 6 and below grade 6, he could only accept bartering. As for rank 7 immortal artifacts, he could only get them if he fulfilled the conditions on the formation screen. The eastern realm of the realm of unbounded desolation was a barren land. Naturally, there was no one here who was interested in grade 7 immortal tools. Today, apart from watching Qin Yangzi forge immortal tools, they were also here to buy immortal tools below grade 3. Although there were a lot of people around, Tang Ao looked around and found that there were less than 5 astral reaching realm warriors, and all of them were at the early astral reaching realm. These astral reaching realm warriors did not live in the Azure Dragon City either. They were all warriors from the surrounding forces. It was only because Qin Yangzi was in the Azure Dragon City that they had come to watch Qin Yangzi craft weapons and ask for immortal weapons. Behind Qin Yangzi, there was a young girl with her arms crossed in front of her chest. She was wearing a fiery red long dress, and her body was curvaceous. If someone looked at her with a flirtatious gaze, she would immediately stare back like a female leopard. Since she had an astral reaching realm aura on her, and was a true disciple of Master Qin Yangzi, no one would be too rude. However, this girl was pure and lovely. At this moment, her angry look attracted a lot of people to stare at her, feeling an itch in their hearts. They liked her so much. After female warriors started to cultivate, unless they trained in evil martial arts, their appearance would become more and more beautiful as their cultivation increased. However, beauties like Yu Kursin were still very rare even in the vast unbounded desolation region. When Tang Ao saw Yu Kursin, he also felt that it was interesting. However, Tang Ao only glanced at her for a moment before looking away. In fact, Tang Ao had seen a lot of beautiful women. Yu Kursin's appearance and temperament were not inferior to Chu Xuehan and the others. However, Tang Ao was not a person who would stop walking when he saw a beautiful woman. This time, Tang Ao came here to see Qin Yangzi forge a weapon, not to see Yu Kursin. However, when Yu Kursin saw this scene, she couldn't help but feel that something was wrong. Yu Kursin clearly saw Tang Ao looking at her with an indifferent expression before immediately staring at the screen. Yu Kursin pouted. She had an idea. She didn't believe that there was a cat that didn't cheat. At that moment, Yu Kursin decided to tease Tang Ao. Yu Kursin stretched lazily and walked casually to the array screen. Yu Kursin's position did not completely block the array screen, but just happened to block Tang Ao's line of sight in that direction. Although Tang Ao was not the only one who was blocked, surprisingly, no one made a sound. After all, a large portion of the people here were here for Yu Kursin. She was extremely talented in martial arts, had amazing attainments in weapon forging, and was a stunning beauty herself. Yu Kursin could be said to be the ideal partner of most warriors. Tang Ao was a little surprised. He didn't know why Yu Kursin suddenly walked to the array screen. Of course, Tang Ao could use his soul remembrance to observe. However, in order to show respect to Qin Yangzi, everyone only used their eyes to observe. No one used their soul remembrance to scan. After all, if so many people used their soul remembrance to scan, even Qin Yangzi wouldn't be able to forge a weapon today. Chapter 2748. Liu thought about it for a moment before saying uncertainly, "My master shouldn't have any interactions with Fairy Yu Kursin." Hearing that, Tang Ao was even more puzzled. Tang Ao had originally thought that the people he had killed during this time had something to do with Yu Kursin. That was why Yu Kursin was making things difficult for him. Thinking of how he didn't know her, but Yu Kursin was like this, Tang Ao frowned and activated the heavenly peak eyes. With just a glance, Tang Ao could clearly see the information on the array formation screen. Others might not have sensed Tang Ao's heavenly peak eyes, but Qin Yangzi still opened his eyes and looked in Tang Ao's direction. Yu Kursin angrily walked to the side. The fluctuations of the heavenly peak eyes were very subtle, but as an forging master, their perception was very sharp. The momentary fluctuations let Yu Kursin know that Tang Ao had already seen the contents on the array formation screen. Seeing his disciple's angry appearance, Qin Yangzi was a bit helpless. Yu Kursin had followed him to cultivate forging since she was a child. Now that she had matured, her temperament was still like that of a child. Others might not be able to see the battle between Yu Kursin and Tang Ao, but as a turbid heaven expert, how could Qin Yangzi not know? People only knew that Qin Yangzi was a peak forging grandmaster, but few people knew that he was also at the 6th level of the turbid heaven realm. Furthermore, Qin Yangzi's concealment technique was very amazing. If Tang Ao hadn't used the heavenly peak eyes to see the formation screen, even now Tang Ao would think that Qin Yangzi was a yin-yang realm expert. Previously, Tang Ao had heard from Liu that Qin Yangzi's forging skills were amazing, but his cultivation base was still at the yin-yang realm. That was why Tang Ao had wanted to invite Qin Yangzi to join the Xiantian Dao sect. But now that he saw that Qin Yangzi was a turbid heaven expert, Tang Ao could only bitterly smile inside. Although Tang Ao felt like his Xiantian Dao sect had limitless potential, Tang Ao didn't believe, he could invite Qin Yangzi to join the Xiantian Dao sect right now. Bang! Right at this moment, a metal plate that looked like a door suddenly fell from the sky and stabbed into the ground not far away from Qin Yangzi. In an instant, dust flew up and many people were startled. However, Tang Ao's complexion instantly turned cold. This was because Tang Ao could tell at a glance that this was indeed a door plank. Moreover, it was the door plank of the Azure Dragon City's gate. The Azure Dragon City's gate was made of black meteoric iron. This was a piece of black meteoric iron. It was a bare-chested, yellow-haired youth. He also flew up and landed on the door. He arrogantly shouted, "Qin Yangzi, use this black meteoric iron to forge a weapon for me." Yu Kursen was furious when she heard this. She wanted to step forward, but Qin Yangzi coughed lightly and stopped her. Yu Kursen was at peak-level astral reaching realm stage 9, while this yellow-haired teenager was at yin-yang realm stage 1. Even so, Yu Kursen was not at a disadvantage. However, this was the Azure Dragon City, and Qin Yangzi wanted to see what Tang Ao would do. Others might not know Tang Ao's identity, but Qin Yangzi did. He knew Tang Ao's identity not because of Tang Ao's battle power, but because Tang Ao had forged a scarlet gold immortal item that was unique. Even Qin Yangzi had to admit that he was inferior to him. As for the fact that the Xiantian Dao sect had been founded by Tang Ao, Qin Yangzi also knew that, but he didn't care. "Humph, there's no place for you to behave atrociously in front of Fairy Yu Kursen. Take this." Seeing what had happened so suddenly, the surrounding people were not worried at all. Instead, the young warriors looked eager to give it a try, all wanting to show off in front of Yu Kursen. Especially this youth standing on the door plank. There weren't any obvious immortal spiritual energy fluctuations coming from him. Although they couldn't see through his cultivation base, it couldn't be too high. However, these people didn't expect that the reason they couldn't see through his cultivation base wasn't because Huang Cheng's cultivation base wasn't high, but because he was already at yin-yang realm. Their cultivation bases were too low, and so they couldn't see through his cultivation base. Li Yu was also infuriated, but he didn't act impulsively. Instead, he immediately reported to Tang Ao, Sr., "This person is the Fire Saber Sect's Huang Cheng. Because of their special cultivation technique, the Fire Saber Sect's cultivators basically have scarlet hair. However, this Huang Cheng's cultivation deviated once in his early years, causing his body to mutate. His battle power is not bad." Bang! The youth who had first shouted at Huang Cheng was fast, but he retreated even faster. Before he could even reach Huang Cheng directly smashed the door plank down, sending him flying back while vomiting blood. Seeing this, many cultivators who were eager to give it a try immediately stopped and looked at Huang Cheng with grave expressions. "He's Huang Cheng." Some people seemed to recall the youth in front of them. Although his appearance had changed a bit, he was still recognized. Chapter 2749. Humph! Let me see what you're capable of. Seeing Huang Cheng's attack, the surrounding crowd retreated in fear. Yu Kursen ignored Qin Yangzi's dissuasion and moved. 2 pieces of silk flew out from her hand. The silk burned with 7 colored flames. The surrounding space seemed to be unable to withstand the terrifying temperature and started to distort. Coincidentally, when Huang Cheng saw Yu Kursen's 7 colored flames, he also leaped up. After forming a seal with both hands, he spat out a blood-colored flame from his mouth. As soon as the flame appeared, many of the weaker martial artists immediately felt as though their blood was being attracted by it. They couldn't suppress it and felt as though it was about to fly out of their bodies. They immediately retreated. Although Yu Kursen didn't feel this way, the image of the ball of flames caused her blood to surge rapidly. Yu Kursen's expression turned a little ugly. However, Yu Kursen still gritted her teeth. The silk in her hands danced and swept towards Huang Cheng. The blood-colored flame in Huang Cheng's hands turned into a firewolf. It opened its bloody mouth and bit at the two pieces of silk. The moment they collided, an unexpected scene appeared. Yu Kursen's two pieces of silk suddenly erupted with a dazzling seven-colored light. The temperature of the silk also reached an unprecedented height. Huang Cheng's firewolf was instantly shattered by Yu Kursen's silk. Then, the two pieces of silk wrapped around Huang Cheng without losing any momentum. Huang Cheng screamed miserably. However, due to the scorching seven-colored flames, no one was able to see what was happening within the flames. After a while, the flames dissipated and everyone looked over, only to discover that Huang Cheng had actually been burned into nothingness by the seven-colored flames. Fairy Yu is so powerful. Good. As expected of Master Qin Yangzi's disciple. Huang Cheng, who was at the first stage of the yin-yang realm, couldn't even withstand one move from her. Seeing this scene, everyone instantly cheered for Yu Kursen. Huang Cheng had come in a menacing manner and his attacks were extremely ruthless. They didn't expect that he would be killed by Yu Kursen shortly after. Of course, some people who knew Huang Cheng were puzzled. In their memories, Huang Cheng shouldn't be so weak. Behind you! Tang Ao's sky-polarity eyes flickered, and he immediately saw Huang Cheng appear behind Yu Kursen. Just now, Tang Ao knew that this Huang Cheng had used an escape technique to escape. However, Tang Ao didn't expect that this Huang Cheng would dare to sneak attack Yu Kursen after escaping. At first, Yu Kursen was also somewhat puzzled, but after seeing the cheers of the surrounding people, Yu Kursen felt that Huang Cheng should have been burnt to nothingness by her colored damask. After all, there were so many eyes watching, Huang Cheng should not be able to escape. Who would have thought that at this moment, a terrifying fluctuation would suddenly come from behind Yu Kursen, and Huang Cheng's figure would instantly appear. The blood-red flame in Huang Cheng's hand turned into a flaming saber. It was the Fire Saber Sect's secret technique. Although the Fire Saber Sect was only a profound grade force now, it had been a heaven grade force in the realm of unbounded desolation at its peak. Even among heaven grade forces, the Fire Saber Sect had been one of the strongest. However, after the disappearance of the Fire Saber Sect's first-generation patriarch, the Fire Saber Sect's incantations had become incomplete. Because of this, the Fire Saber Sect had been on a steady decline. Eventually, they had been forced to retreat from the depths of the realm of unbounded desolation to the edge of the realm of unbounded desolation. Chapter 2750. At this moment, even Qin Yangzi's expression changed greatly. He had the cultivation of chaotic heaven realm at any time, but due to some special reasons, he was currently extremely weak, only at the astral reaching realm. It was also because of this weak period that Qin Yangzi had chosen to come to the outer region of the unbounded desolation. Because of his cultivation of the 9th level of astral reaching realm, although he couldn't run amok in the outer region of the unbounded desolation, he could at least protect himself. Qin Yangzi had never imagined that such an accident would occur. Seeing that Yu Kursen was in danger and Qin Yangzi didn't help, Tang Ao was puzzled, but he still acted. Tang Ao knew that if he didn't act, Huang Cheng's flame blade would definitely kill Yu Kursen here. Yu Kursen looked at the incoming flame blade, and despair appeared in her eyes. Yu Kursen was Qin Yangzi's only disciple, so she naturally knew about his situation. Although Qin Yangzi's martial art was extremely tyrannical, there was a great tribulation during cultivation. This tribulation would appear in the chaotic heaven realm. After cultivating to the chaotic heaven realm, there would be a total of 100 periods of weakness. These periods would appear without any signs, but if one cultivated in seclusion, there would be no such periods. However, if one didn't get through these 100 periods of weakness, the martial art would suffer a backlash, and they would be stuck at the chaotic heaven realm for the rest of their lives, unable to advance in the slightest. Although Qin Yangzi was a chaotic heaven realm martial artist, Apart from this accidental discovery by Tang Ao, other than Yu Kursen, no one else knew about it. The purpose of this concealment was to smoothly get through the period of weakness. As long as Qin Yangzi could get through the 100 periods of weakness, he would be able to step into the chaotic heaven realm and become a Dao sovereign martial artist. Swish! Qin Yangzi was helpless, Yu Kursen was in despair, and the surrounding people were sighing endlessly. At this moment, a thunder sword suddenly flew out, colliding with Huang Cheng's flame blade. At this moment, Tang Ao's figure also flew out, and after grabbing Yu Kursen, he appeared to the side. After putting Yu Kursen down, Tang Ao looked at Huang Cheng with an ice-cold gaze. This Huang Cheng was simply too arrogant. Not only did he tear down the city gates of the Azure Dragon City, he even dared to act impudently in the Azure Dragon City. Huang Cheng was sent flying by Tang Ao's attack. He took dozens of steps in the air and shattered a stone pillar behind him before he could stabilize himself. Just when Huang Cheng was about to continue attacking Tang Ao, his communication jade slip suddenly vibrated. Immediately after, Huang Cheng coldly snorted, and a bloody mist scattered from his body. Then, he disappeared. Tang Ao didn't continue his pursuit. At this moment, Tang Ao was very clear about his current fighting strength. Huang Cheng was at Yin Yang Realm Level 1, but his immortal spiritual energy was condensed and his soul remembrance was boundless. Ordinary Yin Yang Realm Level 3 martial artists might not be Huang Cheng's match. But when this Huang Cheng faced Tang Ao, he would still be crushed. If Tang Ao's thunder sword hadn't shattered the flame blade and had instead directly killed Huang Cheng, he would have been heavily injured. Yu Kursen was grateful to see that Tang Ao had saved her, but she still turned her head to the side, not wanting to look at Tang Ao. Yu Kursen didn't know why, but it was like Tang Ao was innately annoying. Tang Ao didn't care about Yu Kursen's attitude. Instead, he cupped his fists to Qin Yangzi. I am the Xiantian Dao Sect Master, Tang Ao. I would like to invite Grandmaster Qin Yangzi to the Xiantian Dao sect for a chat. Chapter 2751. No one had expected Tang Ao to be so young. Furthermore, when Tang Ao had exchanged blows with Huang Cheng just now, although it had only been a short exchange, Tang Ao had clearly suppressed Huang Cheng. Moreover, Tang Ao's words had surprised many people. Forget about the eastern region, even the entire Langya world knew about Grandmaster Qin Yangzi. Many experts knew about Grandmaster Qin Yangzi. Countless powers had hoped that Qin Yangzi would join them. Even the World Lord Palace and the Immortal Ruin Chamber of Commerce had sent invitations, but Qin Yangzi still hadn't joined any power. As for the various powers in the unbounded Desolation region, they had sent invitations to Qin Yangzi countless times. In the end, it seemed that Qin Yangzi truly had no intention of joining any sect. Although they were unwilling, they didn't continue to invite him. But now, the Xiantian Dao sect's sect master had overestimated himself and invited Qin Yangzi to join them. Even more laughable was that news of the Xiantian Dao sect's founding had spread for half a month, but even now, the Xiantian Dao sect and the 4 great cities hadn't received a rating from even a single Huang rank power. That meant that at least for now, the Xiantian Dao sect was still a sect without a rank. For such a sect to invite Qin Yangzi, it was truly overestimating itself. However, Qin Yangzi and Yu Kursen didn't have such thoughts. Tang Ao had only said that he would come to the Xiantian Dao sect for a chat. At most, he would ask Qin Yangzi to refine an immortal item for him. As for Tang Ao saving Yu Kursen just now, as long as Tang Ao's request wasn't too excessive, Qin Yangzi would most likely agree to help Tang Ao refine an immortal item. As for Tang Ao using his powerlessness to keep the two of them here, Qin Yangzi wasn't afraid. That was because at this moment, a change had occurred within his body. There was no pattern to this weakening period, and there was also no pattern to how long it lasted. Qin Yangzi's weakening period lasted for a total of 3 years. Compared to the dozens of weakening periods he had experienced before, this one couldn't be considered long, but it also couldn't be considered short. At this moment, Qin Yangzi had already recovered his chaotic heaven stage cultivation. If Huang Qing tried to kill Yu Kursin at this time, Qin Yangzi would definitely make sure that Huang Qing wouldn't even have the chance to reincarnate. Tang Ao also sensed the changes in Qin Yangzi's body. When he saw Qin Yangzi's chaotic heaven stage cultivation, Tang Ao felt that Qin Yangzi's cultivation was very strange. It was as if there was some kind of seal within Qin Yangzi's body that sealed his powerful cultivation. But at this moment, the seal suddenly shattered. After the seal shattered, Qin Yangzi's cultivation naturally reached the pinnacle. Not only that, but it had also advanced to the 7th level of the celestial turbid stage. Outsiders had no way of knowing this, but Tang Ao, who possessed the sky polar eyes, could see everything clearly. That feeling of being sealed just now was clearly not something Qin Yangzi did on purpose. Otherwise, when Yu Kursin's life was at stake, Qin Yangzi would definitely have made a move. Although Qin Yangzi's cultivation was strong, there was definitely something wrong with him. Or rather, there was some kind of flaw. Yes. What was even more unexpected was that Qin Yangzi actually nodded at Tang Ao's invitation. In front of everyone's shocked gazes, Qin Yangzi stood and said, "I've been invited by Sect Master Tang to stay in the Xiantian Dao sect for a few days. During this time, if you have any rare forging tomes or immortal items, you can come find me in the Xiantian Dao sect." Chapter 2752. Tang Ao was a bit speechless when he saw that the leader of Azure Dragon City's guards was only a life and death expert. Even the leader of the guards was only a life and death realm warrior. No wonder that Huang Qing dared to act so atrociously. But Tang Ao also understood that the Xiantian Dao sect hadn't even held its opening ceremony, and its foundation was too weak. The only reason they could find a life and death expert to be their leader was because of Li Yu's outstanding abilities. Standing outside the Xiantian Dao sect, even Qin Yangzi felt the majesty of the Xiantian Dao sect. As a rank 7 immortal blacksmith, Qin Yangzi had gone to countless peak sections. But in his eyes, none of them could compare to the Xiantian Dao sect in front of him. However, the Xiantian Dao sect's foundation was too weak. The founder of the sect, Tang Ao, might have reached the Yin-Yang realm, and his potential was even greater. But that wasn't enough to form a sect's foundation. Qin Yangzi sighed. He knew that the Xiantian Dao sect wouldn't be peaceful. In fact, it wouldn't exist for long. "Grandmaster Qin Yangzi, do you have something to say?" asked Tang Ao upon seeing Qin Yangzi sigh. But before Qin Yangzi could say anything, Yu Kursin immediately stood up. "Humph, you really like to show off. It was so hard to find such a good place, but you make it so everyone knows about it. Although your strength isn't bad, you'll quickly find yourself in a lot of trouble." Yu Kursin was a bit curious. Tang Ao clearly hadn't offended her, but she couldn't help mocking Tang Ao. "Ha ha!" Tang Ao laughed carelessly. "Let them come." Tang Ao had already learned from Li Yu that there were over 100 Huang class powers in the eastern region, and there were only 3 Xian class powers. The Xian class powers all had experts at the 3rd level of the Yin-Yang realm. Tang Ao had thought that those sects would quickly come to find him, but after waiting for so many days, he hadn't seen anyone come to cause trouble. If Huang Cheng's appearance in Azure Dragon City could be considered a probe, then the Fire Saber sect seemed to be planning on attacking the Xiantian Dao sect. But Tang Ao wasn't the slightest bit afraid. In fact, Huang Cheng was indeed here to test the waters today. However, Huang Cheng was not testing Tang Ao, but Qin Yangzi. Qin Yangzi's cultivation had always been considered to be at the Yin-Yang realm, but no one knew his true cultivation. For a master blacksmith like Qin Yangzi, Other factions might not have any thoughts about him due to their status or other reasons. However, the Fire Saber sect did not have such concerns. The Fire Saber sect was not a righteous sect to begin with. They did not have many rules and regulations. Others wouldn't dare to do anything to Qin Yangzi, but the Fire Saber sect wanted to invite Qin Yangzi back to the Fire Saber sect to forge a weapon. The cultivation technique of the Fire Saber sect was simply too special. It required a very high-grade immortal artifact. That was why the Fire Saber sect had the idea of kidnapping Qin Yangzi. The Fire Saber sect refined the blood fire internally and the blood saber externally. The combination of the saber and the fire resulted in the Fire Saber. The blood saber was not a saber condensed from fresh blood. Instead, it needed to be nourished by the immortal weapon's own blood. A life immortal weapon was definitely a precious item. To obtain a large number of life immortal weapons, the easiest way wasn't to spend a large price to buy them, but to kidnap a master blacksmith. Chapter 2753. Qin Yangzi followed Tang Ao all the way to a courtyard. This courtyard was located on one of the peaks of Black Sky Mountain. It was a very elegant place. The surroundings were filled with birdsong and fragrant flowers. There was even a smithing room stabilized by an array for people to forge weapons. Tang Ao brought Qin Yangzi and his disciple into the smithing room. There was an array within the smithing room. Around the array were sculptures of the 4 spiritual beasts. In the middle of the array there was also a colorful flame. This flame was drawn out from the array formation, and its changes were wondrous. One moment it would transform into the image of an azure dragon, and the next moment it would transform into the image of a white tiger roaring. Sometimes it would transform into a vermilion bird dancing, and sometimes it would transform into a black tortoise walking slowly. 4 spiritual heavenly flames. Even Qin Yangzi, who had always been calm, exclaimed when he saw the array. As a smithing master, Qin Yangzi had many flames and fire seeds in his collection. However, the highest grade he had was only a grade 7 immortal flame. However, the 4 spiritual heavenly flames in front of him was a grade 9 immortal flame. Although the 4 spiritual heavenly flames were powered by an array and couldn't be carried around, the value of a single 4 spiritual heavenly flames was still terrifying. Qin Yangzi initially thought that he had seen through Tang Ao. However, at this moment, Qin Yangzi realized that he didn't understand Tang Ao at all. Yu Kursen's jaw dropped. After learning smithing from Qin Yangzi for many years, Yu Kursen naturally knew the value of the 4 spiritual heavenly flames. Ignoring their astonishment, Tang Ao continued to walk to the side. There was a smithing furnace made of black copper here. This smithing furnace was reinforced by an array and couldn't be moved. After Tang Ao formed a few hand seals, a black flame rose from the smithing furnace. Within the black flame, there was a ghost-like fire spirit roaming around. Black ghost filthy flame. Qin Yangzi exclaimed in shock. At this moment, Qin Yangzi was truly impressed by Tang Ao's skill. Whether it was the 4 spirit heavenly fire or the black ghost filthy fire, they were probably unique in the Langyu world. Only this place had them. However, Qin Yangzi's surprise was not over yet. He soon saw a secret room. This secret room was not big, but there were many ancient jade slips. After Qin Yangzi scanned the jade slips with his soul remembrance, he discovered that they were all forging jade slip. What was even more shocking was that these jade slips contained too many ancient forging techniques. Tang Ao had long discovered this refining room. Even Jin Chun and the others had come here before. It was a pity that Jin Chun and Ning Xuanma knew nothing about refining weapons. Tang Ao could not show off even if he wanted to. Now that he had brought a master refiner like Qin Yangzi here, it was immediately different. Looking at Qin Yangzi's shocked gaze, Tang Ao felt a little proud in his heart. While feeling proud, Tang Ao sighed emotionally at the Cloud Emperor's wealth. There were quite a few courtyards like this in the Xiantian Dao sect. It was just that the Xiantian Dao sect was too weak right now, so they were all sealed. Not only that, but within Tang Ao's palace, there was a forging room that was like a plaza. There were all kinds of forging furnaces that were dazzling to look at. Other than that, there were also many immortal flames. However, these immortal flames had all been summoned by formations or sealed by formations. With Tang Ao's current abilities, even with Tang Ao's Cloud Emperor token, there was nothing he could do about them. Chapter 2754. If it was before, if Tang Ao had invited Qin Yangzi to join the Xiantian Dao sect, Qin Yangzi would definitely have refused. He had no intention of joining any power. Furthermore, once he passed 100 weakest periods, he would immediately become a Dao sovereign. That was why Qin Yangzi was so proud. But now, Qin Yangzi was hesitating. The refinement room had given Qin Yangzi too many surprises. Furthermore, Tang Ao hadn't held back at all. He had brought Qin Yangzi into this forging room as soon as he had arrived, and he had only made a request after seeing everything. That made Qin Yangzi very satisfied. There were many things in this smithing room, let alone him, even a realm lord would be tempted. Seeing Qin Yangzi's hesitation, Tang Ao opened another room. There was only one stone wall in this secret chamber, but on the stone wall, there was a figure constantly refining all kinds of immortal weapons. Furthermore, there were many different kinds of immortal items, ranging from 1st to 9th rank. Even a peak rank 9 immortal blacksmith would benefit greatly just by looking at this stone wall. Grandmaster Qin Yangzi, once you join the Xiantian Dao sect, I promise I won't make any excessive requests. I just hope that Grandmaster Qin Yangzi can be in charge of the forging division and guide the juniors. Other than that, as long as Grandmaster Qin Yangzi can promise not to leak the secrets of this place, you can leave at any time. Hearing Tang Ao say this, Qin Yangzi's heart shook. The reason he hadn't joined any power was because he didn't want to be restricted. He just wanted to work with the forging division. Furthermore, after joining the Xiantian Dao sect, Tang Ao had only put him in charge of the forging division. He had even provided him with many benefits. In fact, he would be able to spread his forging arts in the Xiantian Dao sect and make them flourish. Of course, Qin Yangzi also understood that this was only the good side. Tang Ao's potential was not bad, but his cultivation base was too low. Such a huge sect wasn't something Tang Ao could support. In Qin Yangzi's opinion, it wouldn't be long before the Xiantian Dao sect would belong to someone else. Although he had the cultivation of the celestial body stage, he had only survived the 71st period of weakness. He obviously couldn't expose his celestial body stage cultivation when the sect was in danger. After thinking for a moment, Qin Yangzi said, "Sect Master Tang Ao, how about this? If the Xiantian Dao sect still exists in 100 days, I will join it. But if the Xiantian Dao sect is no longer Sect Master Tang Ao's after 100 days, then I will take away everything here that I can. As for what I can't, I will use formations to hide it. What do you think?" "All right." Tang Ao immediately understood Qin Yangzi's meaning. Clearly, Qin Yangzi felt that his cultivation base was too low, so he had given him 100 days to see if he could lead the Xiantian Dao sect to endure for 100 days. After agreeing with Qin Yangzi, Tang Ao also left this place. Because Yu Kursen was right, he would really encounter a lot of troubles during this period of time. While Tang Ao was talking with Qin Yangzi, he had received a message from Li Yu saying that the sect masters of 5 yellow class powers had come to pay a visit. Furthermore, they hadn't come with good intentions. When Tang Ao arrived at the Xiantian Dao sect's plaza, his gaze instantly turned icy. There were dozens of martial artists standing on one side of the plaza. 5 of them were at the 3rd or 4th level of the astral reaching realm, and they were all extremely arrogant. In front of them were two martial artists wearing the Xiantian Dao sect's robes lying in pools of blood. Chapter 2755. Tang Ao's expression was ice-cold as he walked over to that dying disciple. He took out a medicinal pill and fed it to him. Other than Jin Chun and the others, there were also quite a few martial artists from Ice Tiger City who had surrendered. These martial artists had been selected by Li Yu, and a portion of them with good conduct had become the Xiantian Dao sect's first batch of disciples. After consuming Tang Ao's medicinal pill, this person's body also began to emit faint life energy. As for the 5 astral-reaching martial artists, they were extremely dissatisfied when they saw Tang Ao ignore them and instead take out a medicinal pill to heal a Spirit Sea martial artist. One of them, a middle-aged man in a red robe, snorted coldly and said disdainfully, "Your Excellency sure is impressive. We, the sect leaders of 5 yellow-class forces, have come to visit together, but Your Excellency turns a blind eye to us. Are you preparing to show us your strength?" However, Tang Ao continued to ignore him. He poured a gentle strand of life energy into that disciple's body. Under the dual healing of the medicinal pill and the jade bone life soul, that martial artist slowly awakened. Seeing Tang Ao, that disciple immediately bowed emotionally. Tang Ao had killed Huahehu and Lu Kai. In this disciple's eyes, Tang Ao was not only the sect master of the Xiantian Dao sect, but also the hero who had saved them from the darkness. Sect Master Dash, the disciple cupped his fists respectfully, but Tang Ao interrupted him. "Who did it?" Tang Ao didn't say much and just asked a simple question. "Today, it was Li Hu and I who were guarding the gate. The two of us said that the Xiantian Dao sect's gate was not to be entered without permission, and Sect Master Ma heavily injured us." Tang Ao nodded and stood up. Looking at the people in red robes, he asked, "Who is Sect Master Ma?" Although Tang Ao's expression was icy, the 5 of them still didn't place Tang Ao in their eyes. They had originally just come to the Xiantian Dao sect to probe it, but as soon as they arrived, they were stunned by everything. So they had changed their original intentions and were now preparing to take over the Xiantian Dao sect. At this moment, 2 figures appeared on a hillside in the distance. These 2 people were Qin Yangzi and Yu Kursin. In addition to Tang Ao's cultivation, Qin Yangzi was more concerned about Tang Ao's style of doing things. After this happened, Qin Yangzi also wanted to see how Tang Ao would handle it. "I am the sect leader of the Azure Sea sect, Ma Jinshan." Next to the red-robed man was a 5th-stage astral-reaching elder. His cultivation base was the highest amongst them, and he would naturally obtain the most benefits from dividing up the Xiantian Dao sect. That's right. That's right." Just as Ma Jinshan finished speaking, a fist immediately enlarged in front of his eyes. Ma Jinshan sneered. This time, they had been planning on dividing the Xiantian Dao sect. They hadn't been planning on letting Tang Ao live. He didn't expect Tang Ao to be so impatient that he attacked him after killing a disciple casually. Bang! Ma Jinshan stopped thinking. All of this took a long time to describe, but it actually happened in less than a breath of time. A bloody mist filled the air. Under Tang Ao's fist, the Azure Sea sect's 5th-stage astral-reaching Ma Jinshan's body and soul were instantly annihilated. Although all of this was unexpected, Jin Chun and the others' expressions remained unchanged. There was no need to doubt Tang Ao's strength. Chapter 2756. But now Wu Qisong and the others were shaking uncontrollably. They truly still had many trump cards they hadn't used. But after seeing Tang Ao kill Ma Jinshan with a single punch, they naturally understood that no matter how many tricks they had, they didn't have the qualifications to fight against Tang Ao. Ha ha ha, the 4 sect leaders have graced our sect with their presence. This Tang is truly honored. Li Yu, bring the 4 sect leaders to the main hall. While the 4 of them were trembling in fear, Tang Ao casually wiped his hands and said with a smile. It was as if killing Ma Jinshan with a single punch wasn't even worth mentioning. On the contrary, it was Tang Ao who was very happy that the 4 of them had come to visit the Xiantian Dao sect. Sect Master Tang. Wu Qisong felt his scalp turn numb. At this time, he finally understood why so many Huang tier powers around the Xiantian Dao sect had only been watching and not doing anything. It was clear that Huahehu wasn't at the 3rd level of the astral reaching realm like the rumors said. And it wasn't like the rumors said that the Xiantian Dao sect's strongest expert was Jin Chun. Clearly, the strongest person in the Xiantian Dao sect was still Sect Master Tang Ao. Although the deaths of the 2 disciples guarding the mountain had nothing to do with them, they had truly been scared out of their wits. Even the 5th level astral reaching Ma Jinshan couldn't receive a single punch from Tang Ao. How could they have the guts to ask Tang Ao to receive them? So Wu Qisong could only thicken his skin and say, Sect Master Tang, it was Senior Apprentice Brother Ma who invited us here today. We have no intention of offending you. Please accept these gifts, Sect Master Tang. After Wu Qisong finished speaking, he immediately took out a few jade boxes. The other 3 secretly praised Wu Qisong's resourcefulness and immediately took out jade boxes as well. They expressed that Ma Jinshan was courting death this time, and the 4 of them were sincerely here to visit Tang Ao. As for Tang Ao's invitation, the 4 of them also said that they had many things to do in the sect, and were in a hurry to return. They also said that on the day of the Xiantian Dao sect's grand opening, they would definitely come to visit. Brother Wu, when you're done with the matters of the sect, you must come again. This Tang will definitely treat you well. After Wu Qisong and the other 2 left the mountain, Tang Ao's sincere words came from the top of the mountain. Hearing Tang Ao's words, Wu Qisong, whose face had already darkened due to the loss of many treasures, immediately felt a sweetness in his throat. He was nearly unable to suppress it and spat out a mouthful of blood. Scenes like what happened to Wu Qisong and the others today happened frequently in the next few days. Everyone had suffered a loss at Tang Ao's hands, but they were too embarrassed to mention it. In their hearts, they also felt that they shouldn't let others take advantage of their losses, so they kept their mouths shut. When the sect masters and family heads of the surrounding yellow class forces saw so many people coming back safely from visiting Tang Ao, they were shocked. Although they didn't understand, they were sure it was nothing. That was why they all went to the Xiantian Dao sect to see Tang Ao. Over the past few days, the various large and small Huang powers around the Xiantian Dao sect had formed groups of 3 to 5 to pay a visit. As for what they had encountered on the mountain, although countless people were curious, no one knew. Within the Fire Saber sect, the sect leader and many elders were gathered in the main hall of the Fire Saber sect. Of course, there were also people from the Fire Saber sect among those who had gone to the Xiantian Dao sect. Chapter 2757. That Xiantian Dao sect's Tang Ao should be at the peak of the 9th astral reaching realm. I exchanged blows with him that day, and adding on the probing we've had during this time, I'm almost certain of this. As for Jin Qin, he's at Tang Ao's side. Even if his power isn't bad, he definitely won't surpass the 9th astral reaching realm. Our Fire Saber sect has 2 yin-yang experts and over 10 astral reaching experts. Swallowing the Xiantian Dao sect will be as easy as flipping our hands. The one who spoke was the yellow-haired Huang Qing. That day, he had fought to probe Qin Yangzi. But after being interrupted by Tang Ao, he had always harbored a grudge. If the sect master hadn't given the order, he would have long since turned the Xiantian Dao sect into rivers of blood. Sect master, the Xiantian Dao sect is nothing to worry about, but the Xiantian Dao sect is in the Heavenly Sound Valley's territory. I'm worried that the Heavenly Sound Valley will use that as an excuse to ignore our fire saber sect. Just as everyone was talking, a handsome young man suddenly walked in. He cupped his fists toward the sect master and the surrounding elders. Turning to the sect master, Guotianhe, he said, "Father, the Xiantian Dao sect will be holding an opening ceremony in 3 days. This is the invitation." Gui Yunfeng took out a jade slip. "Oh, then what level of power did the Xiantian Dao sect request from the World Lord Hall?" Guotianhe's interest was piqued when he heard that the Xiantian Dao sect would be holding a grand opening ceremony in 3 days. Gui Yunfeng laughed. "The Xiantian Dao sect hasn't applied to the World Lord Palace, so the Xiantian Dao sect is a power without a rank." Many people in the hall started to sneer at the mention of a gradeless force. Guotianhe was also startled. He hadn't expected the Xiantian Dao sect's Tang Ao to be so daring. Guotianhe had seen an image of the Xiantian Dao sect in the jade slip. That was a grand sect that far surpassed heaven powers. But for such a grand sect, Tang Ao was planning on creating an unranked sect. "All right, make your preparations. 3 days from now, the Fire Saber sect will be taking over the Xiantian Dao sect." Guotianhe suppressed everyone's laughter and spoke with an unquestionable tone. Although the Xiantian Dao sect still hadn't held an official opening ceremony, there was an endless stream of martial artists coming to join them. However, most of the warriors who came to seek refuge were arranged to stay in the 4 major cities. Very few of them were selected by Li Yu to stay on Black Heaven Mountain. Holding a grand opening ceremony was definitely a very tedious matter, but Tang Ao was rarely free. At this moment, Tang Ao was in an empty space behind the mountain, trying to break through to the Yin-Yang realm. Because he had comprehended a trace of the Fire Dao law in his body, as long as Tang Ao was willing, Tang Ao could break through to the Yin-Yang realm at any time. However, Tang Ao didn't do that. During this period, Tang Ao had been comprehending the Fire Dao laws and Thunder Dao laws in his body. Previously, these 2 Dao laws had been useless in Tang Ao's body. But now, Tang Ao could clearly sense the laws of heaven and earth within them. This world was filled with the laws of heaven and earth. Even without Dao laws, he could still comprehend them. However, after comprehending Dao laws, his comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth would become even clearer. Furthermore, once his comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth reached a certain level, Tang Ao found that Dao laws weren't completely useless. As long as he comprehended the Fire Dao law to a certain level, he would be able to use the power of the Fire Dao law. Just like now, although Tang Ao hadn't completely comprehended the laws of heaven and earth, Tang Ao could already use the Fire Dao law to a certain degree. The Thunder Dao law was the same. Although Tang Ao's cultivation base was still at the peak of the 9th astral reaching realm, after comprehending the power of the Thunder Dao law, Tang Ao could even kill 9th astral reaching realm martial artists with a single lightning sword. During this period of time, Tang Ao's cultivation base didn't increase, but Tang Ao's power had gone through a huge change. Right now, Tang Ao was really looking forward to finding an evenly matched opponent who could fight with him. Tang Ao also understood that the opening ceremony in 3 days would not be simple. Those forces who had visited Tang Ao before knew how powerful Tang Ao was, so they wouldn't do anything. However, even more martial artists who hadn't visited Tang Ao before would definitely jump out at that time. However, Tang Ao didn't care at all. Right now, Tang Ao's comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth had already reached the limit of the astral reaching realm. Therefore, Tang Ao had also started to break through to the Yin-Yang realm. Chapter 2758. Mysterious auras that couldn't be seen with the naked eye revolved around Tang Ao. These mysterious auras seemed to be the laws of heaven and earth. These laws of heaven and earth couldn't be seen, nor could they be touched, but they constantly pushed heaven and earth. The so-called yin-yang realm was to understand yin and yang, to control heaven and earth, to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth, to perfect one's own Tao. As long as a martial artist could form a trace of their own aura, they would be able to break through the shackles of the astral reaching realm and step into the yin-yang realm. However, this kind of yin-yang realm was also the weakest yin-yang realm. The strongest yin-yang realm martial artists would normally have to completely comprehend all the corresponding laws of heaven and earth between the astral reaching realm and the yin-yang realm. Only after solidifying their foundation would they attempt to break through to the yin-yang realm. This matter was easy to say, but extremely difficult to accomplish. Comprehending the laws of heaven and earth wasn't something that could be done in a day. As long as you could comprehend a trace of the laws of heaven and earth, you would immediately become a yin-yang realm expert. Under this kind of temptation, just how many martial artists had been able to resist? However, Tang Ao had cultivated for 2 lifetimes, and his will was extremely firm. Otherwise, back in the 3 ancestor Holy Land, Tang Ao wouldn't have forcibly suppressed his momentum to break through to the yin-yang realm. While Tang Ao was breaking through to the yin-yang realm in the back mountains, the entire eastern region wasn't the slightest bit calm. That was because all the Huang and Xian sects had received invitations to the Xiantian Dao sect's grand opening ceremony. Some of the sect leaders scoffed coldly at the invitation and chose to ignore it. Some of the other sect leaders fell into deep thought. As for those sect leaders who had gone to the Xiantian Dao sect to pay a visit to Tang Ao, they were now painfully preparing their gift. The Xiantian Dao sect was an unranked sect, but the sect leaders of over 40 Huang sects had all suffered at Tang Ao's hands. That was especially true of Ma Jinshan. The Grand Azure Sea sect's sect leader had been killed by Tang Ao with a single punch, just because he had killed one of the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples. However, not all the sect masters were like that. Some of them had secretly received news that the Xiantian Dao sect's opening ceremony would be held in 3 days. The Flame Saber sect would attack the Xiantian Dao sect. The fact that the Fire Saber sect had a yin-yang realm martial artist was no secret to these factions. Moreover, in the eyes of the masses, no matter how strong Tang Ao was, in front of a yin-yang realm martial artist, Tang Ao was still nothing. Behind Xiantian Mountain, Tang Ao slowly exhaled and shook his head helplessly. Right then, Tang Ao's cultivation had already reached the peak of astral reaching realm level 9, and he was only 1 step away from the yin-yang realm. If Tang Ao was willing, Tang Ao could easily cross this fine line and become a yin-yang realm martial artist. However, what made Tang Ao helpless was that, with the help of the Fire Dao Law, his control over the power of the Fire Dao Law had already reached the pinnacle of astral reaching realm. However, his control over the power of the Thunder Dao Law had never been able to reach perfection due to the fact that the Thunder Dao Law was incomplete. As for the laws outside of the Fire and Thunder Dao, no matter how talented Tang Ao was, Tang Ao's comprehension of them was only deeper than ordinary astral reaching realm martial artists. There was no way for him to compare to the Fire and Thunder Dao. Chapter 2759. The Sky Sound Valley was the closest Xian sect to the Xiantian Dao sect. At first, Tang Ao had thought that the Sky Sound Valley would come to find trouble for him. But after waiting for a long time, Tang Ao still didn't see any martial artists from the Sky Sound Valley. On the other hand, almost all the surrounding yellow sects had come to visit him. Before, when Tang Ao was walking on the streets of the Azure Dragon City, he felt that the city was very lively. But now, after seeing the wonderful Sound City, Tang Ao immediately realized that although the 4 cities were magnificent, their foundation was too weak. On the streets of the Azure Dragon City, there were basically only low-level martial artists and mortals. But on the streets of the wonderful Sound City, mortals were rarely seen. They were all martial artists. Moreover, these martial artists' cultivation bases were not weak either. Tang Ao even saw 2 astral-reaching realm martial artists. It had to be known that astral-reaching realm martial artists could easily become the leader of a sect in this place. But these kinds of martial artists could still be seen on the streets of the Wonderful Sound City. As for the shops in the Wonderful Sound City, they were not something the current Azure Dragon City could compare to. Tang Ao circled around and found a restaurant called the Wonderful Sound Shop and walked in. The Wonderful Sound Shop was filled with celestial sounds. It was also the largest restaurant in Wonderful Sound City. As soon as Tang Ao entered the Wonderful Sound Shop, he saw that the business was booming, and there were no empty seats. However, those sitting on the first floor were basically all Sea of Soul Realm to Life and Death Realm martial artists. Even Life and Death Realm martial artists did not stay on the first floor. Tang Ao had used the illusion pellet, so right now, Tang Ao's appearance had turned into that of a handsome young master. Although he was handsome, his face was a bit pale. It was obvious that he was a playboy who had been drinking too much. In a place like the Wonderful Sound Shop, although there were all kinds of people, most of them were playboys from different families. When Tang Ao arrived on the second floor, 2 extremely beautiful maids immediately came to greet him. When he saw these 2 girls, Tang Ao felt that they were quite interesting because these 2 maids were shockingly at the life and death realm. From this, it could be seen that the wonderful music bar was indeed not simple. How many people does young master have? The 2 girls seemed to be a pair of twin sisters. At this moment, the girl on the left opened her mouth and asked, "Alone?" Tang Ao looked around. Tang Ao noticed that the second floor of the great music bar was very different from the first floor. The first floor was a huge hall, but the second floor was divided into many compartments. Moreover, the martial artists who came to the second floor were all in the life and death realm. It seemed like the wonderful music bar had some sort of rule. Different cultivations could go to different floors. As Tang Ao looked around, he saw a martial artist at the peak of life and death realm walking towards the third floor. Tang Ao was a bit curious about the great music bar. Seeing that someone was walking towards the third floor, Tang Ao immediately followed. "Young master, only astral-reaching realm martial artists or warriors with astral-reaching realm battle power can go to the third floor." Seeing that Tang Ao was about to go to the third floor, the 2 maids hurried to persuade him. "Oh, then why did that person go to the third floor just now?" Tang Ao did not believe that the 2 girls did not see that life and death realm martial artist. Ouyang Sun, who had just gone upstairs, was naturally seen by the 2 sisters. Chapter 2760. The man cupped his fists towards the stairway leading to the third floor, seeming to show his respect for Ouyang Sun. He then said without any trace of politeness, "That was one of the 3 princes of our great Sound City, young Master Ouyang Sun. Who do you think you are? How dare you compare yourself to young Master Ouyang?" After the warrior finished speaking, he ignored Tang Ao and walked straight up to the third floor. Although the people around didn't finish their words, the way they looked at Tang Ao was full of ridicule. Although the person talking to Tang Ao was not the 3rd prince of the great Sound City, he was still the young master of the Wu family, Wu Qi. "Stop!" Just as Wu Qi was halfway up the stairs, Tang Ao's voice suddenly came from behind him. Hearing Tang Ao's words, a lot of people on the second floor looked over with interest. After stopping Wu Qi, Tang Ao asked the girl next to him, "Just now, you said that the third floor of the Great Sound Shop requires astral-reaching realm cultivation base or battle power. I wonder what counts as astral-reaching realm battle power?" "Ah." Hearing Tang Ao's words, Wu Qi laughed out loud. He couldn't see through Tang Ao's cultivation base, but with the help of the illusion pellet, the immortal spirit power ripples around Tang Ao were very weak. Plus, Tang Ao's face was pale, as if his body had been emptied by alcohol and women. This kind of warrior couldn't possibly have astral reaching realm cultivation base. As for astral reaching realm battle power, that would be even more ridiculous. If you can take 3 attacks from me, then you will have astral reaching realm battle power. What do you think? The Great Sound Shop of the Great Sound City was quite famous in the surrounding cities. Every day there would be a lot of warriors showing off. Wu Qi's favorite thing to do was to teach these arrogant guys a lesson in the Great Sound Shop. Actually, in his heart, he also hoped that when he taught these warriors a lesson, he would be able to gain the favor of that goddess from the shop. Otherwise, Wu Qi wouldn't have humiliated Tang Ao just now. Wu Qi was under the pressure of the wonderful Sound City's 3 great young masters. Therefore, if Wu Qi wanted to show off, he had to find another way. Why do I have to take 3 moves from you? If you can take 1 move from me, then I won't have astral reaching battle power. What do you think? Tang Ao wasn't a person who liked to cause trouble, but Tang Ao had used the illusion pill to transform his appearance. It was obvious that he was a spoiled brat. If Tang Ao didn't say anything after something like this happened, it wouldn't match his identity. Tang Ao's words caused an uproar in the audience. Right now, Wu Qi was at the peak of the 9th level of the life and death realm. His best record was that he had killed a 3rd-level astral-reaching realm warrior. Therefore, when Wu Qi said that Tang Ao could take 3 of his attacks, even if Tang Ao had the power of an astral-reaching realm warrior, no one dared to disagree with him. However, no one had expected that the Tang Ao in front of them was even more arrogant than Wu Qi. He dared to say that as long as Wu Qi could take 1 move from him, even if he didn't have astral-reaching battle power. At this moment, everyone felt that they had learned something new. They had seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen someone this arrogant. Right then, everyone wanted to see how Wu Qi would respond. Chapter 2761. Wu Qi seemed to have thought of something and added, "Of course, if I can't take 1 move from you, this essence-gathering jade will also belong to you. Although my move won't kill you, it will definitely let you know that coming to the Great Sound Bar was the worst decision you've ever made in your life." Wu Qi placed the essence-gathering jade on the table and waited for Tang Ao to make his move. Everyone looked at Tang Ao sympathetically. They thought that Tang Ao was at most a life and death realm warrior based on the fluctuation of immortal spiritual force around Tang Ao. In the life and death realm, apart from the wonderful Sound City's 3rd young master, no one could compete with Wu Qi in the life and death realm. In fact, if the wonderful Sound City didn't have the 3rd young master but the 4th young master, then Wu Qi would definitely be the 4th young master. Boy, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and make your move. If you are killed by young Master Wu, I will help you collect your corpse. Seeing that Tang Ao didn't make his move, a big man with a full beard shouted, "Make your move, don't waste time." Wu Qi looked at Tang Ao with a mocking expression. There was even a trace of cruelty in his eyes. In the wonderful sound bar, Wu Qi didn't dare to kill Tang Ao. However, if he crippled Tang Ao, the wonderful sound bar wouldn't say anything. The young master of the Wu clan is so mighty. The wonderful sound bar is a place for everyone to eat and rest, not a place for your Wu clan to fight and kill. As soon as Wu Qi's voice fell, a girl in a pink dress came from afar. Seeing this girl, the surrounding people became even more excited. Of course, many people immediately cupped their fists and saluted the girl. Everyone in the wonderful Sound City knew that Wu Qi was pursuing Gongsun Linglong. Moreover, because Wu Qi's uncle was the great elder of the heavenly Sound Valley, the Gongsun clan's attitude was vague. However, Gongsun Linglong's younger sister, Gongsun Yingying, who was wearing a pink dress, hated Wu Qi to the extreme. It was as if making Wu Qi suffer was her greatest joy. "Ha ha ha, so it is Sister Yingying. I haven't seen you for a long time. Sister Yingying is getting more and more beautiful." Wu Qi knew that Gongsun Yingying didn't like him, but he didn't take it to heart. If it wasn't for the fact that the third elder of the Heavenly Sound Valley was a member of the Gongsun family, Wu Qi would have loved to get his hands on both the Gongsun sisters. "Who's your sister? If you keep spouting nonsense, I'll cut off your tongue." After saying this, Gongsun Yingying glanced at Tang Ao and immediately said, "You don't look like you can beat this guy. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll help you punch Wu Qi." After Gongsun Yingying finished speaking, she ignored Tang Ao and directly punched Wu Qi under the shocked gazes of the crowd. Tang Ao shook his head. Although this Wu Qi was arrogant, he was still a life and death realm warrior, while this Gongsun Yingying was only at life and death realm level 6. Therefore, Gongsun Yingying was no match for Wu Qi. Before Gongsun Yingying's fist could land on Wu Qi, she felt her body lighten. Looking down, she found that someone had lifted her up. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.